Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Sunday morning live stream for Championship Sunday, the final week of the season for many of us, in order to try to put ourselves into a situation to hopefully capture a 2025 Fantasy Football Championship. It has been an incredible season thus far, and this is the final, well, actually, technically, I will be here next Sunday for those of you who need help in Week 18, but this may be the final Sunday of the season in which I may see you. So let's hope this all goes correctly. For those of you guys who have already started off, Championship Week 17 by having Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Ladd McConkey, Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Cortland Sutton, guess what? If you add all those wide receiver stats together in a half PPR, they all don't total what Derrick Henry did last night. Derrick Henry had a generational game. When I started yesterday's live stream talking about, when I remember a Christmas Day game, I remember Alvin Kamara going for 6 rushing touchdowns and winning championships all those years ago. This Derrick Henry performance last night will go down in the record books. That is something that I'm going to remember for a very long time. 200 plus rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. The guy almost had 40 rushing attempts by himself. What an absolute ridiculous game. But I'm here to answer questions. Of course, we have updated rankings to the right side of the screen. I've gone ahead and removed any players who have already participated in games over the course of this week. Of course, there are 10 teams that have already played, so we have the remaining 22, the entire Sunday slate, and of course, the Monday night matchup tomorrow between the Rams and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, many of you may be wondering, first and foremost, apologies for being late. I did have to update the ranking, and I'll tell you exactly why. Prior to starting today's live stream, I wanted to update Jake Tongs and George Kittle. So the report earlier today from Adam Schefter in regards to the 49ers is that, quote unquote, George Kittle is highly unlikely to play. So that's not really much of a surprise, as he didn't practice all week long anyway. So, for those of you guys who have Kittle on roster, I've gone ahead and designated that ranking like I represented earlier with Tongs and Kittle next to one another as that following spot. So, if you have Kittle, of course, you must roster Tongs in the case in which, again, if he's still not active by this upcoming Sunday night's game against the Chicago Bears, then you would pivot to playing Tongs, who I do believe is the better play than guys like Taysom Hill, Brenton Strange, Tyler Warren, etc. So I would like to play Tongs ahead of all that field. But if you do have representatively like a Juwan Johnson, a Hunter Henry available out there in your league, I would probably tell you to just go pick them up and assume that they're going to be the more, providing play in a half or full PPR scoring format in comparison to a Jake Tongs as of this week. Otherwise, like I represented over the course of Friday's episode, Jake Tongs averaging 11 fantasy points per game in the final 3 games in which he played for this organization prior to the return of Kittle earlier this season. But hopefully these rankings can help you guys answer some of the questions you may have. If this does not help, of course, we also have Patreon rankings that are available. Outside of that, for those of you guys who signed up via Betr over the course of the season, those rankings have also been sent out for all the encompassing rankings. And without further ado, let's now get into answering questions so we can set ourselves up for even more potential success, hopefully, again, or maybe our guys disappear like they did yesterday, aka Josh Jacobs. Thank you very much for trying to contribute to the team, and then the team doesn't run the ball a single time in the second half. Oh, what a treat. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to throw up the questions over the top of my shoulder here, and we begin with TPD, who sends it a question, says, it's performances like the one by Josh Jacobs, why I will never play fantasy football again. Too much that doesn't make any sense. I stick to basketball where star players give star performances, win or lose. Well, here's the thing about the NBA that I've learned. Look, I will say a difficult performance where it's like a tough matchup, yeah, that's something that I can live with. Josh Jacobs just getting no run at all just because they're like, well, we're just going to throw the ball the entire game. It's a tough one. It's definitely a tough week. But I will say the thing about the NBA that really, grinds my gears while we're on the subject before I continue is that there's so many games that end up being blowouts or just like one-sided, like, all right, well, this team's pulling their players in the fourth quarter. Like the amount of times that happens over the course of the year, that for me is kind of the tricky game overall. But totally understand. Apologies. Sorry to hear about the Josh Jacobs debacle that took place last night. All right, moving on. We had a question from Avram, who says, I played Henry last night. You see, we have two sides of the coin. We have the Josh Jacobs managers, and then we have the Derrick Henry managers, who obviously have set themselves up to most likely win this week. This is one of the most interesting fantasy playoffs I've seen in quite a while. I'm curious how many teams have not only Puka Nacua, but also Derrick Henry and Kyle Pitts on their roster, and basically got a 40-point performer in each of the last 3 weeks. If someone is out there and has that, and that's their roster, please send it to me on Twitter. I would love to see that, because that might be one of the greatest fantasy playoff runs of all time. Anyway, continuing on. It says pick one quarterback, one running back, one tight end, and one flex. Okay. Burrow or May? I would prefer to play Joe Burrow. Again, with Drake May missing a couple of his receiving options, Kayshon Boutte, and additionally, Mac Hollins. I think Joe Burrow against the Arizona Cardinals, whose secondary is dealing with a lot of injuries, is the appropriate play there. Then we move on to running back. Absolutely, without a doubt, going to play Travis Etienne there. Bashal Tune is inactive once again, makes it an automatic start. And then we continue on with the tight end position, in which you do have Kittle, Pitts, and Fannin. I would prefer to play Kyle Pitts over the course of this season, especially of late. Kyle Pitts has been unstoppable. I really like the matchup on hand. And additionally, on top of it, George Kittle, Harold Fannin, with more recent injuries that certainly have it a little bit lesser of a kind of like, oh, I'm a little bit sketched out about their potential. Kittle plays on Sunday night. If he was healthy, I'd feel comfortable about it. But ultimately, I feel like Kyle Pitts is the most healthy of the three and going to be in a position to most likely rack up a high reception count once again. And then when I look in the flex position, I would then just pair that up with Kyren Williams. So I'm going Burrow, Etienne, Kyren, and Kyle Pitts. Thank you very much, Avon. Appreciate it, brother. All right, moving on to Andrew Myers, 704. Andrew, thank you. Says in a full PPR, T. Higgins or Jawan Jennings. As of right now, Jawan Jennings is my number 7 wide receiver compared to number 9 T. Higgins. So regardless of scoring format, half PPR, full PPR standard, I will go in the direction of Jennings, especially considering they did designate, well, I will say Adam Schefter is really tapped in with the 49ers. Anytime he does present any information regarding the 49ers, I usually take it as the gospel in regards to Schefter reporting it. So he's pretty tapped in there with the organization. With Kittle unlikely to play, I think it does elevate Jennings a pretty good substantial amount, on top of the fact that he's already playing well. So he would be the preferred between the two, in my opinion there, Andrew Myers. As for your next question, it says, I need a kicker, 49ers, Bengals, or Patriots. If we're looking for a kicker between those three, I do believe that Eddie Pinheiro, as of right now, is my highest ranked of the available options. Let me just go ahead and let me reference that real quick. So yeah, Eddie Pinheiro of the remaining kickers is my number 2 for this week. Borregales, who's the Patriots kicker, is my number 4. And the Bengals kicker, Evan McPherson, is my number 7. I think they're all fantastic options. Again, they're all expected to pretty much score a high clip of points, but Pinheiro would be my preferred of the 3. Thank you very much, Andrew Myers. All right, Drewski sends in a question. Thank you very much. Is in a full PPR in my flex, do I play Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, BTJ, or Michael Carter? So, excuse me, as of right now, the entire speculation over the course of this week is whether or not we would see Travion Henderson clear the concussion protocol. Based on everything that we have seen over the course of the last 24 hours, with not only Travion Henderson practicing on Friday and shedding the non-contact jersey, but additionally on top of it, the organization not deeming him out due to concussion, and on top of it, the organization not elevating a running back off of the practice squad. All 3 of those steps give us the indication, clear as day, that Travion Henderson will in fact be playing. So I do believe that effectively Ramondre Stevenson is a downgrade comparatively. Now, there is still a possibility in which the organization takes it easy with Travion this week. Against the Jets, they're thinking, oh, maybe we don't want to run him into the ground. We don't want to force the potential of some other concussion to occur, less than 1 week after the first one occurred. So Stevenson may get more run in the second half against the Jets, but it's difficult to say as of right now how that entire dynamic is going to play out in terms of workload. But Stevenson, I think, is a lesser option because of the presence of Henderson effectively. So he wouldn't be my number 1. To which at this point, we look towards, I think, Brian Thomas Jr. most likely. Yeah, look, between the available options I have, BTJ and Kenneth Walker are my top 2 options. As of right now, I have Kenneth Walker as my number 35 of the remaining players. BTJ is my number 37. Michael Carter 43, Ramondre 49. So if it was my team, I would tell you to play Kenneth Walker. If you want to play BTJ, I have no issue with it, as I have them less than 1 point separated in terms of projections. Thank you. Moving on to K Visionary. It says Stafford or Burrow. I think they're both fantastic plays. If you told me that Devontae Adams was going to play on Monday, I would tell you to play Stafford, genuinely. But considering, again, Devontae Adams is doubtful for Monday's game, I think there's less firepower for the offense and less potential for theoretical upside in the case of Stafford. Now, that being said, this most recent week, he threw for 400 yards and 3 tutties. So, take it with a grain of salt. Ultimately, which way you will about it, Stafford and Burrow could very easily both throw for over 300 yards and 3 tutties today. But when I look at the potential of Burrow against a very banged up Arizona Cardinals secondary that is missing many members of that defense, and additionally, he has all of his weapons at his disposal, I would feel really, really, really comfortable going in the direction of Joe Burrow to find that upside. It says I'm facing against Chase and I have Puka. I mean, yeah, either which way you go about it, you're going to find success. But I do think that the upside of potential does revolve around Joe Burrow in this circumstance. Thank you, Visionary. I appreciate it. All right. Machine sends in a question. Game Machine says, in a half PPR, pick one between Corum, Carter, Kyle Williams, and Tucker. Look, I believe I have Kyle Williams ranked on screen. So in comparison to Trey Tucker, for those of you guys who are wondering in a half PPR, I would play Kyle Williams ahead of him, genuinely. Trey Tucker's a little bit of a tough start, especially considering, again, the offense of the Raiders is just so difficult to trust on a weekly basis. But in regards to these availables, it's either one of the 2 running backs. I don't think I would ever play one of those 2. Man, I got something stuck in my left eye. I don't think I would ever play one of those wide receivers over either of those running backs in this circumstance in a half PPR. I just feel like there's too much of a high floor for both those RBs. As of right now, I have Michael Carter as my 42. Corum would be my 47 overall. And then the wide receivers effectively are far further down. So if it's my team, I end up positioning to play Carter as my number 1. Thank you. James Grover sends in a question. Says, I started Schultz and Hampton, but played Henry. Went from 10 to... Wait. Okay, so started Schultz. That was disappointing. Hampton got lucky with a touchdown, but played Henry. Went from up 10 to down 30 projected. So you played against Henry? Or you played Henry. It says, I have Bijan, Evans, and Tataroa with New England's defense left. Other team has Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Myers, plus no names. Do I keep my lineup as is or flex for Pollard or flex one Pollard or BTJ? Okay, so as of right now, between these, it depends on scoring format ultimately. Let me see if there's any clarification on this. Funny enough, replacements goes good luck, brother. Okay. So in regards to the 2, let me see where I have Pollard comparatively to BTJ in a half PPR circumstance. Yeah, if we're talking half PPR, I'm pretty comfortable going in the direction of a Tony Pollard. In a full PPR, I could justify going Brian Thomas, but I probably would still go Pollard in that circumstance. So if I'm flexing one of those 2, I'll just take Pollard and I'll roll with him in that direction. Says from up 10 to down 30 projected. Yeah, so if you're playing against Henry, it's probably a long shot, but I do think that what Pollard has been able to accomplish for the last 3 consecutive weeks here with over 100 rushing yards in each game, if it wasn't for the touchdown being called back last week, obviously should have had a touchdown minimum in each of the last 3 games. I think he is the strongest play between the 2. Thank you, James Grover. Appreciate it, brother. JV sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, stick with Tongs, with Jennings and Ricky healthy. Yeah, I'm still very much so excited about the potential in which Tongs could provide, and or Kittle, assuming they're healthy. Again, the overall offense functions around getting the ball to their tight end. So I don't expect that to potentially dissipate over the course of this week. Ricky Pearsall being available doesn't mean that he's 100% healthy. He's going to be active, but as to how much usage he gets, I think, again, it's still to be determined. It says also nervous, might have low points due to blowout over Lawrence. I mean, I'm playing Trevor Lawrence there. That's the way I have it ranked, so that's what I would suggest, brother. And then in regards to sticking with Tongs, yes, I would like to stick with Tongs over the course of this week. Again, I think unless you have one of the priority options that I have represented here, which is McBride, Pitts, Fannin. I mean, at that point, Jawan Johnson, Hunter Henry, I feel like Tongs is the next best play. Then you have Dallas Goedert, who plays in rain, and additionally on top of it, has to take on Buffalo, the toughest matchup. Then you have Taysom, who's had one good season. You have Brenton Strange, and then the rest of the crew after Brenton Strange is all very much so up and down receiving options at tight end, who, in the absence of a touchdown, they cook us. With touchdowns, they're relevant. Just purely a matter of can we predict the touchdown upside, which is definitely a difficult task. All right, moving on to the question from Walls, who says, full PPR, pick 2, Michael Wilson, Michael Carter, Jawan Jennings, and Tracy. I'm expected to win by 30, so a higher floor might be the best here. I mean, if we're looking for just, okay, automatically, first and foremost, Jawan Jennings has to start. Scoring a touchdown in 6 of the last 7 games is enough of a floor of production on top of the fact that Kittle's expected to miss, to which Jennings becomes an automatic start in this circumstance. Then between the available options of the alternatives, I think Tyrone Tracy is in fact your best play in a full PPR scoring format. Let me see where I have Tracy. Yeah, so here's the difference. As of right now, Tracy and Michael Wilson in my book and Michael Carter are all separated by 5 ranks. I have Tracy at 38, Michael Wilson at 39, and Michael Carter at 43. So between Tracy and Michael Wilson, I have them legitimately back-to-back, neck and neck, but I do prefer Tracy purely based on the overall matchup taking on the Raiders. Michael Wilson's a little bit of a more difficult potential say. Certainly has a pretty high-scoring game expected, but with Marvin Harrison back again in the last 2 games, his overall target opportunity has certainly been very underwhelming with 10 targets in the last 2 games with Marvin Harrison. So I'll go Tracy and Jennings there for that high floor of production. And additionally, they both have high ceiling. Alex Ruiz sends in a question. Alex, thank you. Says in a full PPR, 1 wide receiver and 2 flex. We have Burden, BTJ, Tetaroa, Carter, Manungai, Corum, Stevenson, Sampson. Okay, so what earlier today represented, and right before the stream also started, we did get the report that Tetaroa McMillan says the Tetaroa thing expected to play for week 17, barring any change. He did pop up as questionable due to illness, like he just probably caught a flu or something. But from Ian Rappaport, as of, let's see, what is this, 15 minutes ago, he said this sounds more precautionary than anything. Tetaroa McMillan should still be good to go. So that's kind of the most recent news there. Hopefully nothing changes in regards to his status and his availability this week, because he certainly is going to need to help contribute to our rosters. In regards to the availables that you have here, I do have Tetaroa McMillan ranked as the highest wide receiver. So that's what I would end up suggesting here at wide receiver 1 in a full PPR. Then when I look towards the potential flex availables, I think BTJ for sure needs to play as one of the flex options. And then it becomes a matter of where do I have Carter comparatively to Burden? Let me just see where I have Carter. And then Luther Burden, I have 2 spots below him. So my top 3 options would be these 3 in regards to your first question in a full PPR. I go Tet, BTJ, and Carter. My the number 4 option of that group would theoretically be Luther Burden. But I will suggest these 3 as the primaries. As for a 4-point per passing touchdown league between Jalen Hurts and Brissett, we're still awaiting the overall kind of status of what the weather is going to look like in Buffalo. I believe that game starts, let's see here. Excuse me. So here is the deal. The Buffalo game takes place at 1:25 p.m. So we could wait until 1:25 and just live with whatever the weather looks like, you roll Jalen Hurts. Or alternatively, because the Cardinals play at 10 a.m. in about 2.5 hours from now against the Cincinnati Bengals, you could just play Brissett, assuming the weather in Cincinnati looks just all right. So I think if you want to avoid any sort of risk, if by the time we get to 10 a.m. this morning, PST, I understand that there is still some anticipated slight rain showers in Cincinnati today. If the weather isn't as diabolical as what is projected to be in Buffalo, then I would just play Brissett there. Otherwise, my rankings are my rankings, and I think that Jalen Hurts is going to outscore Brissett regardless. So considering you're playing McBride, I think in your position, again, if we get to 10 a.m., we look at the weather in Cincinnati, it's not a big deal. I play Brissett. I pair him up with McBride. I avoid any risk because I have these guys back to back, and I don't want to have any sort of monsoon game take over and decimate my week for Jalen Hurts. Thank you. Mike Shores sends in a question. Says in a half PPR, I have Kittle in two league finals and picked up Tongs. Beautiful. Says also have Strange and Loveland on my bench in both leagues. Who would you recommend to start? Yeah, as of this week, I would recommend going in the direction of Jake Tongs. Again, earlier this season, I will say the overall deployment of Jake Tongs in the absence of George Kittle was also in the absence of other alternative options within the offense dealing with injury. So there were some games there in which Ricky Pearsall was missing effectively. So there was more of an opportunity share for Tongs to get looks. But over the course of the final 3 games in which Tongs played, I mean, in the case of, I believe you're playing in a half PPR, right? Let's see here. Let's go to my half PPR, pull up Tongs here. The overall target opportunity that he saw in the final 3 games, 5, 11, and 7. Coming away with 13.3, 13.6, and 8.8 fantasy points. So the volume of opportunity of, 23 targets in 3 games, I think is strong enough, in my opinion, to be able to kind of sustain and carry on over to this game against Chicago to make him the more valuable option of the availables. So in comparison to Strange and Loveland, I would prefer to play Jake Tongs this week. Thank you. Okay, Cuckoo sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, sit one between Bucky, Evans, Michael Wilson, Myers, and Henderson. I think it's between Bucky and Michael Wilson. So I have to play Evans. That's first and foremost. Again, when you're seeing the volume of targets that he has over the course of the last 2 weeks, he's cleared away the number 1 in an incredible matchup against Miami. He's a must start. I think Jacoby Myers is also a must start, taking on Indianapolis' secondary. I believe Sauce Gardner should be returning this week, which should probably be pulled in the direction of BTJ. Effectively, let me just make sure that is in fact the case. Yeah, Sauce Gardner, full practice on Friday, should be returning this week. We'll pull towards BTJ. And again, last time out against his defense, BTJ pulling very similar coverage of Sauce Gardner. Jacoby Myers on the other side of the field had 10 targets. So Myers should see himself a pretty good workload. And then we have Travion Henderson against the Jets, which again, considering he's going to be available and active today against one of the best matchups at the running back position, I think all 3 of those are must starts. Then it becomes a matter of, can I trust Bucky Irving against Miami with the workload shares that Sean Tucker and Rachaad White continue to vie for every single week? That is the risk that is inherently kind of, unfortunately, withered down the value of Bucky Irving. Even though he's coming away with, 16 to 20 touches per week, it's still difficult to outright trust him there. So objectively, that is a concern. On the other end, we also have Michael Wilson, who with Marvin Harrison in the last 2 games, 10 targets, 5 receptions in those 2 games. Very underwhelming performance. Luckily for us last week, was able to come away with a touchdown to pretty much save and, really give us any sort of points that we were looking for. If it's my team, as of right now, the way I have it projected, I'm going Bucky Irving. I think it's a blowout in the favor of Tampa Bay, and I think they run it out. And of course, Bucky Irving finally finds the end zone for the first time in the last 3 weeks. Thank you. W. Proc sends out a question. Says, do I play Tongs or Loveland tonight if Kittle is out? In the event in which Kittle is out, I would rather play Tongs. Look, the overall opportunity share that Loveland will theoretically be set for, considering Luther Burden's coming back and the fact that Colston Loveland, over the course of the last, 8 games now, 6 of the last 8 games have consisted of 4 or 5 targets. So really, the overall kind of opportunity share that theoretically he'd be exposed to, let's say he gets 5 or 6 targets there, unless he comes away with a receiving touchdown, the overall opportunity is just not a high enough clip for me to feel confident enough, unless he makes a crazy play after the catch. And when we're talking about making plays after the catch, that's exactly what the 49ers offense promotes. And I think Tongs in this circumstance would be a more valuable option between the 2. All Rise sends in a question. It says, Hall or Carter, PPR, seems like Pat's defense are missing a lot of players. They are. My goodness, over the course of this week, the amount of starting defenders for the New England Patriots designated out is substantial. Just putting it into perspective, okay? Harold Landry, out. Robert Spillane, out. Tonga is going to be missing. I believe that they also sent another player to the injured reserve. The volume of starters within the run-stopping category that are just not going to be available to them, pretty substantial. So I have effectively moved Hall up. Earlier this week on Tuesday, I had him really low within my rankings. But considering, again, the missing members of that Patriots defense, And last time out against this team, the Jets actually came out and smacked them in the mouth for the first half of the game. There's a potential in which Hall could be of value. In a full PPR setting, I wouldn't go as far as to play him over Michael Carter. I have Michael Carter one spot ahead of Breece Hall in a full PPR setting. If we were talking about a half PPR though, considering the receiving contributions, I would just play Hall there. So again, it's really just the toss-up between the two, but I feel more comfortable in terms of the receiving workload that Carter could theoretically gather in a PPR setting just genuinely in a more advantageous matchup against Cincinnati's lacking run stop defense. So I'd go Carter there. As for your next question, Patriots or Saints defense, or I could pick up the Jags, I'd pay the Patriots. It's not really even a question in my mind. Ultimately, when I look at the overall success that defenses have found playing against the New York Jets offense over the course of the season, I'm just going to pull up the stats right now just so we're all on the same page. So defenses versus the Jets in the last 5 games. The Saints defense last week scored 19. The Jaguars the week before 10. The Dolphins the week before 16. So just in the last 3 weeks alone, double-digit fantasy points for defenses that are playing against the Jets. Then we had the Falcons defense that did absolutely just nothing. They scored 2 fantasy points. And then we have the Ravens that went for 11. So in 4 of the last 5 games, double-digit fantasy points from viable defenses against the New York Jets offense. So absolutely firing up the potential there. This is the 5th best matchup in regards to defenses versus an opposing offense. So Patriots defense is the way to go. Thank you. Andrew Pacina sends in a question. Andrew, hope you're doing well, brother. Henderson or Juwan Jennings in a full PPR, no Kittle? I would go with Juwan Jennings there, genuinely. I don't feel that... Okay, so this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried that Travion Henderson could go out there and have a 50-50 neck-and-neck split of overall opportunity with Ramondre Stevenson. That is my concern. If that comes to fruition, that could be an issue. If Henderson rips off 40-yard runs for touchdowns, then of course he'll dissipate any of that concern. But I think the floor of production that Juwan Jennings has put forth over the course of, just the last couple weeks here in itself is convincing enough in a full PPR to just have me very easily play him and not have to even take the risk of Henderson. So I go Jennings there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, brother. Let me find Pacina's question. Pacina. Okay. After Andrew Pacina's question, we had Pava. Thank you very much, Pavan. All right, Pavan says, appreciate all the help, bro. Questions in the chat. Thank you, Pavan. Says, let's win the championship PPR. I have Kittle. Looks unlikely. So should I play Taysom Hill, Brenton Strange, or Tongs? I'd play Tongs there. And flex spot between Warren and Michael Carter, I would rather play Jaylen Warren, and it's not really even close. Again, I mentioned this earlier this week, guys. Besides the fact that Calvin Austin and DK Metcalf are both out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you're taking on the Cleveland Browns, over the course of this season, it's never been like the most advantageous matchup, but over the course of the last 3 weeks, this defense has fallen apart. They've allowed over 100 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in each of the last 3 games to Tennessee, Chicago, and Buffalo. So I'm all in on Jaylen Warren this week, having a fantastic game there. And then for your final question, Pavana says, I guess if you don't like Michael Wilson, you prefer Warren and Michael Carter, or one of those and Luther Burden in the flex. I do like Michael Wilson. I'm just trying not to overrank his potential. But in regards to like Michael Carter, Michael Wilson, Luther Burden, and Jaylen Warren, like Jaylen Warren's the automatic start there. In regards to like Michael Wilson, I have Michael Wilson ranked over Michael Carter in a full PPR. Let me see where I have him in a half PPR real quick. In a half PPR, I also have him over Michael Carter. So whichever way we go about it, I would prefer to play Michael Wilson over Carter. So Warren and Wilson will be the way in which I go about this, brother. Thank you, Pavan. All right, moving on to Shoes, who says, questions in the chat, fam? Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Says, okay, man, last time asking full PPR, Pierce, Buka, or Burden. Appreciate you, Andrew. Yeah, look, as of right now, I think Luther Burden is the appropriate play. I think it was represented over the course of this season with the fact that the San Francisco 49ers of late cannot stop anybody within the receiving game. They are, I think if I'm not mistaken, from Wednesday's video, we mentioned it. I think they're the second best wide receiver matchup at the position based on receiving statistics allowed since week 5. Let me go ahead and let me confirm that. They're the third best matchup. They're allowing 29.44 fantasy points per game. And obviously the contributions of receivers this most recent week from a Rivers-led offense represent that. So if I'm in your position, I'll play Burden 1, Pierce 2, and Ibuka 3. Thank you, Shoes. Appreciate it, brother. All right, moving on to Brian Canales, who sends in a question. Brian, hope you're doing well on this wonderful Sunday. All right, Brian says, check the chat. Thanks, friend. Amazing call on Henry. I mean, is it... Okay, here's the reality, right? It's not difficult to say, oh, Derrick Henry should be started, right? So that's a given. The only amazing call I had regarding Henry yesterday was somebody asked, Andrew, I need anytime touchdowns from both games. I said Hampton and I said Henry. And whoever that was, congratulations. We love it. But it's not difficult to say start Derrick Henry. We all know we should always start Derrick Henry. Now, when I say, hey, we should start Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Ladd McConkey, Nico Collins, Cortland Sutton, etc., and they all play like garbage, it is what it is. All right, Brian says, lineup. I have Stafford, Harvey, Henry, Fannin, Aubrey, and the Texans defense. Pick one between Gainwell, Kyren, and Jennings. In a full PPR, if in fact that is your scoring format, I would play Juwan Jennings out of all those three available options there in the flex. As for says, I have BTJ and Michael Carter, but I'm not considering them. I wouldn't either. I think Juwan Jennings is by far and away your best play in a full PPR comparatively to Gainwell and Kyren. I will say there is a conversation to have regarding what Gainwell has done of late, but I think, again, with the potential of Kittle missing, Jennings is the auto start there. Brian, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it, and best of luck this week. Diego sends in a question. Diego Gutierrez says, pick one between Tyrone Tracy, Ramondre, and Breece Hall. The order of which I would rank these players would be Tyrone Tracy 1, and then I would have, like I represented on screen up there, Breece Hall number 2, and then Ramondre number 3. So as of right now, Tyrone Tracy would be the number 1 option, followed by the those availables. Breece Hall 2, Ramondre 3. Thank you. Ray123 sends in a question. Ray, thank you very much. Says, I need 2 running backs and a flex and a tight end. Cool. So 2 running backs. You have Walker, Stevenson, Henderson, Corum. Of these available options, we have a couple options in which we can go with. You could theoretically just, go Henderson because he's going to be active, and Walker because those are the primary RBs of those offenses. Or you could theoretically run a Stevenson-Henderson comp to where you don't have any leaking fantasy points out of the backfield. So regardless of which way we go about the Patriots kind of exploring their offense and kind of dispersing the touches amongst the two, you pretty much don't get burnt in that scenario. I don't mind that strategy, in fact. Let me see the separation of projection I have between those two options. So I have Kenneth Walker. I mean, so again, if it's my team, I could understand hedging and just going Stevenson and Henderson. Do I do it myself? Shit. Okay, well, actually, we have a flex option. So let me see here. You have Corum, you have Pittman, you have Loveland, you have Tongs, you have Barner. Okay, so in the case of tight end, I'm playing Tongs, under the assumption, of course, that Kittle is out. In the event in which Kittle somehow is active tonight, then I'm playing Loveland, okay? And then if I was in your position, I think I legitimately just play all 3 of these running backs. I play Walker, Henderson, and Stevenson, and I hedge. Just in case, if the game gets to a blowout state, and Henderson and Stevenson just start going back and forth, and Stevenson starts stealing touchdowns in the second half against the Jets, it doesn't kill our week. I think that's the way in which I go about it. I'll play all 3 of those running backs alongside of Loveland or Tongs, depending on Kittle's status there, right? Thank you. Zombie sends in a question. It says, full PPR flex, AD Mitchell or Tyjae Spears. I believe I have Tyjae ranked higher, but let me just confirm that. Tyjae Spears, yeah, I have him 3 spots ahead of AD Mitchell. So Tyjae Spears would be the play for me. Again, I don't love the idea of having to roll an AD Mitchell against a Christian Gonzalez matchup. That's what sketches me out a little bit. And I think the overall usage of Tyjae Spears this most recent week is promising enough to where hopefully the organization realizes, oh, you know what? Maybe we should give him more touches going forward, whether it is on the ground or through the air. So I will lean in the direction of Tyjae Spears in comparison to the difficulty of the matchup that theoretically is provided from taking on the Patriots for AD Mitchell. Thank you. Todd Jordan sends in a question. Todd, thank you. Says, do I play Mike Evans or Tremere DK? I don't think it's even relatively close. Well, unless you're playing in a return yards league. Says, I'm in a full PPR league that offers return yards as well. Okay, let me just go ahead and do some calculations here. I think Tremere DK most likely ends up being your answer. From what I've experienced this season, I don't play in any leagues that have return yardage, but I've had so many people ask over the course of the season that I'm incredibly familiar with the fact that Chimere DK is the best at the position for that kind of theoretical upside. Excuse me. So looking at the potential of return yardage that we have seen from Chimere DK, if you're going to get 1 point per 10 return yards, I mean, just ultimately over the course of the last couple weeks here, like this most recent week, he came away with 145 return yards. That's 14.5 fantasy points. The week prior, 90. The week prior, 39. Then 152. The week before that, 188. Like the return yardage specialty of being able to get legitimately anywhere between 10 to 20 points from Chimere DK there, on top of the receiving workload that he has provided in 3 of the last 4 games scoring a touchdown, or 3 of the last 5 games scoring a touchdown, I think you're probably a little bit more equipped to make the final call there. But I would like to assume that over the course of just comparing Chimere DK's value to Mike Evans, DK's probably the better play in that kind of a format. Says also for tight end, Taysom, Tongs, Waller, or Parkinson. Again, I think in this circumstance, I'm pretty much gonna rotate between Tongs and Parkinson, because Tongs plays tonight on Sunday Night Football, and we're still waiting the official designation of George Kittle. I think it's probably in our best interest to push it to tonight. In the event in which Kittle does not play and is inactive, you would play Tongs. Otherwise, you pivot to playing Parkinson on Monday night. Thank you, Todd. Chris sends in a question. Chris Moraga says, in a half PPR, RB2, I need upside, Spears or Hubbard? I'd go Spears. I think Hubbard, again, the lack of touches is very much so concerning. The script would have to be a game in which the Carolina Panthers somehow maintain and take a lead and run out the clock. In order for that to be the case, I think it's a little bit of a greater stretch than the overall potential where Spears gets more touches over the course of this week against the Saints. So again, from what we've seen displayed over the course of the last 2 months here with Hubbard's return, again, it's very sketchy. I'd go Spears in that circumstance. Thank you. Robert sends in a question, says standard format, start 2 between Blake Corum, Travion Henderson, and Breece Hall. Thank you. Standard scoring format, 0 points per reception. I feel like the floor of Blake Corum and Travion Henderson is probably the direction in which I go in. I think, again, Blake Corum coming away with his 50 to 70 rushing yards, and a touchdown. He can very easily at any point score anywhere between 10 to 15 points within a given game in his sleep. Now, again, it's very much so contingent on does he fall into the end zone. But I think in a standard scoring format where you're not getting any sort of reliance on that receiving utilization, I'm perfectly comfortable going Corum and Henderson in that circumstance. I don't play any in any standard leagues myself, but I am willing to bank on just touchdowns. And I think that between these 3, Corum and Travion are just the more superior plays. Mike Shores sends in a question. Mike Shores, thank you. Says half PPR, I need a flex. Evans, Michael Wilson, and Michael Carter. I'm going to play Mike Evans there. Again, Mike Evans, I mentioned it earlier this week. His overall distribution of opportunity since his return has just been far too undeniable. He has a 35% target share in the last 2 games with 21 targets total. So in any point, I'm not going to feel bad about playing the number 1 wide receiver of a Tampa offense against Miami. So in this circumstance, it's Mike Evans. He's got touchdown upside. He's got opportunity share. I think he's the auto start. Thank you. D-Blow sends out a question. Says half PPR, Mondre or Carter? I have Carter, I think, slightly ahead of him in terms of my rankings. I can confirm that once again right now. Yeah. Like represented on screen, I have Michael Carter 1 spot ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. If you anticipate that game against the New York Jets to be a game in which the Patriots take an early lead and run out the clock in the second half, which I'm assuming we all anticipate to be the potential case, Ramondre Stevenson can very easily outscore Carter. Because if you look at the 2 prior games, prior to this most recent week in which, of course, Henderson left early due to the concussion protocol, Ramondre Stevenson in a half PPR has been a 9-point contributor in those 2 games. So Ramondre Stevenson has a very safe floor of production on top of a great matchup that could lead to a touchdown that could get him from that 9-point range to additionally being a further play to maybe a double-digit score, maybe 15-point player, even as the RB2 of that offense. So I think there is a reality in which Mondre could outscore Carter, but I'm still going in the direction of Carter because I'm uncertain as to how that backfield will distribute touches ultimately. Kex is good, sends in a question, says half PPR versus Henry. I need a miracle. Start Purdy or T-Law. Again, with Kittle out, I think T-Lock continues to be an even further kind of solidified play in that circumstance. Says I have Tongs and Christian McCaffrey, and my opponent has Jawan Jennings. Flex. Okay, so there's a lot riding on that game in your league. So theoretically, you could just roll with Purdy and just hope that he goes for his 295 and 3 touchdowns and pretty much carries. But again, I really do believe that Trevor Lawrence is not only the safer play, but I think he legitimately has higher upside. So if it's me, I'm going Trevor Lawrence ever so slightly. But again, that's primarily because in the absence of Kittle, kind of lessening the potential of the offense overall. Then when I look towards the flex, excuse me, flex Michael Carter, DJ Moore, or Ramondre Stevenson. In a half PPR, let me see where I have DJ Moore in comparison to Michael Carter. Let's see, Moore. Between those availables, I have Michael Carter ranked as the highest. The order in which I have it is Carter 1, DJ Moore 2, Ramondre Stevenson 3. So the separation is 42, 44, 46 in my flex rankings. Carter ever so slightly ahead of him, all within the same tier, but Carter would be my suggestion there. Thank you very much, Kex. Kevin Smith sends in a question. Says, sup, questions in the chat. Thanks for helping. No problem, my man. Thank you very much. Says, PPR, please rank A.J. Brown, Jaylen Warren, Mike Evans, and Kyle Pitts. Yeah, in a PPR scoring format, I have it as the following. I would go okay, so I will say it's very much so contingent on the weather in Philadelphia. But number one right now would be Mike Evans. Number 2, Jaylen Warren. And then if the weather is a disaster, I would probably go Kyle Pitts 3, then A.J. Brown 4. So Evans, Warren, Pitts, A.J. Brown. If the weather is not an absolute torrential downpour of disastrous, potential, at that point I would then go Evans, Warren, A.J. Brown, then Pitts last. I think you've got incredible options across the board there, but if you got to play 2 of them, Evans and Warren would be my suggestions there this week, Kevin. Thank you. All right, Mustafa had sent in a question. Let me just see if anything got corrected. There we go. Mustafa, what's up, brother? Says no Kittle, Tongs, Waller, Taysom Hill, or Mayer. Okay, so in the event in which, so when you say no Kittle, I just want to clarify that you have Kittle on roster, because if you don't have Kittle on roster and you get to Sunday night and let's say Kittle does end up playing somehow, some way, I don't want you being in a position to where you have to pivot to. Actually, you could forget it. I'd be perfectly fine pivoting to like Ferguson or Parkinson on Monday night if available. But anyway, in this circumstance, again, I would feel comfortable playing Tongs in the absence of Kittle over the field there. Thank you. All right, good luck. Warzone sends in a question. Says full PPR, Tyler Warren at tight end, Strange, Tongs. Again, if you have Kittle on roster, I would like to wait for Sunday Night Football, and I would like to play Tongs there in the absence of Kittle. That would be my preferred plan of action. Next question, flex Gainwell, Tracy, Wan'Dale Robinson. I would play Gainwell there. I think he's got too much value for me to not play him. Says this is for the championship in my main league. Thanks, Andrew. Congratulations for getting this far. Obviously, job's not finished. Trying to go ahead and bring home the chip. But I think, in order to accomplish that, Gainwell's been far too consistent, far too many touches, a lot of receiving workload on top of it. I think he's an incredible play against Cleveland's incapable run-stop defense. And then I think Tongs is the appropriate play at tight end. In the event in which you don't have Kittle to be able to kind of do that flexing option, then you would just play Strange. Thank you. Hive sends in a question. Says, hi, Andrew. This is my active roster. Bo Nix, Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, A.J. Brown, Jay Williams, I'm assuming is Jameson, McBride, Tracy, Texans, benches Hill, Goddard, Pittman, and Tyjae Spears. Should I switch any player from my active lineup? So looking at what you have available, am I making any theoretical switch? No, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, no. There's not a single player in which I would switch. I would rather play Tracy over Goddard, Pittman, and Spears in the flex position. The only question is, so obviously I prefer to play Tracy over Stevenson. So if you put Tracy as your RB2, would I play one of these availables over Ramondre is the question. I think it depends on scoring format. If you tell me you're playing in a half PPR, I'd be perfectly fine sticking with Stevenson there. If you tell me you're playing in a full PPR, I think I might just tell you to play Michael Pittman in that circumstance, but it's a little bit sketchy. So at this point, I'm perfectly fine just keeping the roster as is, because the separation between Michael Pittman and Ramondre within my full PPR rankings is 2 spots. I don't want to get cute with it. I'm cool with just keeping your lineup as is, taking the floor of production that Ramondre can provide, and if in the event he goes for upside for a touchdown, we'll take it. So keep it as is. You're good to go there. Hive, thank you. All right, we took care of Mustafa earlier. Then we move on to MH, who says Burrow or Allen? Burrow or Allen? Look, as of right now, says I started Henry. I need floor now. I mean, honestly, I think when we're talking about Burrow versus Josh Allen, I personally don't have a position to where I could ever really justify benching Josh Allen. I understand that there's the potential of the weather and additionally a more difficult matchup against Philly. I do understand and objectively see that that is the case. But even in that circumstance, I would expect at home in a weather game, that is where Josh Allen is Josh Allen. That's where he's at his best. So I'm going to play him. Thank you. But then again, this is my number one quarterback. Is my number two quarterback of the week. Like, is there going to be that substantial difference in terms of fantasy points? No. So if you want to play Burrow, brother, just roll it. Doesn't matter. But I would play Allen. Random Challenger says, Pearsall likely to play. Does that change Tong's ranks? No, I already have. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I was a little bit late to start. I think I was about 2 minutes late, primarily because I was making the adjustments of Kittle expected not to play. I already knew that Ricky Pearsall was going to play. That report was already put out last night that he was likely to play. Earlier this morning, they just continued to reiterate that, and additionally on top of it, stacked on Kittle. When I say last night, I mean early this morning, like at 3 a.m. So bear with me. So I already know that Pearsall was going to play. That's why I have Pearsall already ranked. Now again, Pearsall's coming off of a knee and ankle injury. He's continued to have this injury all season long. So I think the overall potential upside that Pearsall could theoretically provide is still limited because he may not see a full complement of snaps, which is my primary concern there. So I don't think that this affects Tongs to the extent to where we don't play him in comparison to the field of available options we have ranked below him as of today. Thank you, Random. Appreciate the clarifying question there, brother. T-Lick sends in a question. It says, I need a flex in a full PPR. We have Walker, Burden, Pearsall, Dowdle. Okay, I don't want to play Pearsall, genuinely. I don't feel the most comfortable there. I think I probably lean in the direction of probably playing Walker in this case. The receiving workload he has seen this season has kind of grown over the course of the last 2 months here, which is quite promising. Obviously, Atlanta and Indianapolis, those two games were burners to where when I say burners, I mean they absolutely burnt us. Not in a good way. I'm talking about in a bad way. So I could see the reality in which you're like, all right, I just don't even want to take the risk, Andrew, with him. But against Carolina, in Carolina, a defense that's allowed, if I'm not mistaken, let me pull the stat here real quick. Hold up one moment. Let's pull it. Here it is. A defense that's allowed in 7 of the last 8 games, 100 plus rushing yards to opposing running backs. And additionally, over the course of those 8 games, have allowed 11 rushing touchdowns. I feel like Walker, Charbonnet, positive script, should get a lot of run. I know in a full PPR, the likelihood of like a Burden, Luther Burden, like Pearsall base floor of 5 catches, 50 yards may seem like the safer play. But I think what Walker could theoretically provide in a game in which, again, he gets a very similar workload as last week is a substantial kind of uptick comparatively. So I'll take Walker in that case. Says I'm looking for max upside. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for as well. I would just play Walker there for that max upside potential. Says Collins and Gibbs already started slow. Yeah, Collins and Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs was, usually you don't see Gibbs fumble, and then all of a sudden he fumbles on Christmas Day. I'm like, oh, what a sweet treat. We're starting off nice. Thank you for the Christmas gift. Frank Grillo sends out a question. Says AD Mitchell, Zach Charbonnet, or Dallas Goedert in the flex. I believe I'm gonna probably lean in the direction of Sharbies here. Let me just make sure I have that as such. So I will also mention, it depends on scoring format to an extent. I'd probably just tell you to play Charbonnet, though, if I was in your position. If you are playing in a full PPR at that point, I'd probably just go Goddard, assuming the weather's okay. Let me see when that game takes place in comparison real quick. So week 17. I just want to know. No. Okay, yeah. I'm just going to play Charbonnet if I was you. I go Charbonnet 1, Goddard 2, AD Mitchell 3 there, Frank. Thank you, sir. Rico sends it a question. Appreciate it, Rico. Says Marvin Harrison, Parker Washington, Luther Burden. I would play Luther Burden there. Had Marvin Harrison got any sort of full participation in practice this week, I'd feel a little bit better about the overall potential. But considering he was limited in all 3 phases of practice this week, does have me a little bit concerned that he'll still see a little bit of a lesser opportunity share of snaps effectively, which leads to less targets. So between those 3 options, I would go in the direction of Luther Burden, who I do believe has an incredible matchup. I think there is, again, The fear of a DJ Turner matchup for Marvin Harrison is what kind of also additionally scares me there. So why did I say DJ Turner? Isn't it DJ Reader? Hold up. I believe there's one that's a defensive tackle, and then there's one that's the cornerback. The last name is eluding me for this current moment. One moment, please. Calculating. DJ Turner. I was correct the first time. DJ Reader is a defensive tackle. He's got to be, right? Let me see here. That is correct. DJ Reader is a defense tackle for the Lions. Okay, so I wasn't completely off. DJ Turner is the correct answer. Okay, so anyway, Luther Burden's my suggestion there, Rico. Thank you. Parker sends out a question. Says in a half PPR all flexes, rank these and consider injury/game times between London, Kittle, Fannin, Tetaroa, Brees, Tracy, BTJ, and T. Higgins. Also, is Caleb safer than Jalen Hurts? I mean, based on what Caleb has done of late, I think against the 49er secondary that is as bad as it gets, I would say that there is a potential in which he's safer, but I will also say it depends on what the weather looks like. And considering Caleb plays after Jalen, you can make that determination yourself in terms of just how the weather in Buffalo looks, to where you may be able to just pivot and play him on Sunday night in a clear weather game in California against the 49ers. So again, if the weather looks like a disaster in Buffalo, don't even take the risk. Play the safe Caleb Williams, get your 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, a sprinkle of rushing upside, and if he plays an even better game in a potential shootout, even better. But I think the weather is certainly going to be the thing that determines whether or not Jalen can reach that potential for upside. And I wouldn't say that it's... Would I say it's safer? Yes, I technically think that it is safer to play Caleb comparatively to a theoretical disaster weather situation for Hurts. Now, regarding these available, okay, half PPR, all flexes... rank these. I mean, look, brother, telling me to rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players, it may take me a little while to be able to go through it, but I'll try my best here. Kittle, I'm not ranking because I'm assuming he's not going to play. So in this case, London is my number 1, followed by T. Higgins is my number 2. Fannin is 3. Tetaroa is 4. Tracy 5. BTJ 6. Brees Hall 7. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, Parker. Now, again, I will say, considering injury, had London been in a position to where, like, again, he didn't practice one of the days over the course of the week, and had they already designated him out, I'd be like, okay, yeah, he's probably not going to play. Don't even like roll with that direction. But I expect London to play on Monday, and I expect him to play pretty well, actually. Thank you. Talking Ball Radio sends it a question. Says, Tongs or Juwan Johnson? I would say you just play Juwan Johnson there. I don't think you need to get cute with it. I don't think you need to wait. I think you play Juwan Johnson. You cash in on the potential of taking on that Tennessee defense with the number 2 receiving option, that offense. Thank you. Drew Johnson sends it a question. Drew, thank you. Says, full PPR, need a tight end in a flex between Juwan Johnson, Henry, Michael Carter, and Ramondre. In a full PPR, genuinely, I have Juwan Jennings and Hunter Henry both ranked higher than those 2 alternative running backs. I would play both tight ends. I think, again, with Juwan Johnson, being the number 2 with no Devon Vele out there, with no running game effectively out there, they're going to throw the ball a bunch against Tennessee, which is the way in which you attack that defense primarily, as their run-stop defense is quite good. And then Hunter Henry with no Kayshon Boutte and Matt Collins out there, I think it continues to provide even more upside, especially considering last week the New York Jets defense gave up 14 receptions to the New Orleans Saints tight end. So I think those are the top 2 plays in a full PPR capacity for you. Appreciate it. All right, Yaga sends in a question. Says, I can't decide between Burrow and Lawrence to start in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. I'm also leaning Corum over Michael Carter in the flex. I have no issue with that at all, brother. I have not even one inkling of doubt there. I am perfectly fine with Corum over Carter. Earlier this week, I was on that same wavelength. The only thing that kind of like gives me a little bit of hesitation is, okay, can Michael Carter get that receiving workload and just get a ridiculous volume of points from that? Or can Corum lose a touchdown, and because of the fact that he doesn't score a touchdown, could it sink my week? That's my only kind of concern there. But in regards to the Burrow versus Lawrence, brother, I mean, genuinely, you've got two of the most. I mean, you've got the quarterback number one, if Trevor Lawrence, who at this point over the course of the last 5 games has scored 17 touchdowns. Putting that into perspective, he's been on a heater. And then you have Burrow, who again should be going scorched earth on everyone until the end of the year because that's what Burrow does. Even though they have no playoff aspirations, he's going to throw for probably 3 tutties, 300 yards. I think whichever way you go about it, you're going to get a lot of points. I prefer Burrow because of the overall injuries to that secondary in comparison to Indianapolis getting some of their troops back in the secondary there, brother. Let's see here. Kyle Shanahan called Bears Caleb one of the blah, 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 blah. The status of George Kittle is in doubt tonight. Okay, that doesn't matter. We already knew that. Anything new that I've seen in terms of reports? Nothing. Okay, cool. Appreciate it, Yaga. Appreciate it. All right, Erwin sends in a question. Says in a half PPR. Up against Henry. Down 10 projected. Okay. Says Wanda Robinson, Alec Pierce, Kyle Williams, Michael Carter. I think I end up playing Wandale Robinson here. Let me just confirm where I have Wandale Robinson compared to the field. Yeah, Wandale Robinson's my highest ranked player of the availables you have there mentioned. If you need a wide receiver and a flex, I would go with Wandale Robinson, and then I would follow it up by playing Michael Carter alongside of him. It says also Warren, Taysom Hill, or Tongs. I would end up playing Tongs only if you have Kittle again. In the event in which you don't have Kittle, I would still probably look to play Tongs. And in the event in which he's not available to play because Kittle's somehow active tonight, very unlikely, but let's say it happens, then you pivot to playing Parkinson on Monday, so go pick him up just in case to have the availability of that pivoting option at your disposal. Thank you. James Grover says, previous question, PPR played against Henry, need a flex between Tetaroa, Pollard, BTJ. Cool. Appreciate the clarification on the matter. In regards to, yeah, it's an uphill battle to say the very least, brother. I mean, that is sheesh. But in regards to the potential of this question, if we need to flex one between Pollard, BTJ, and Teta, really, Tet? Where did Tetaroa come from? I don't even remember seeing him in this prior question. Projected, we have Bijan, Evans, and Tetaroa with, other team has Allen, Do I keep my lineup as is or flex one for, oh, I see. So you have Tetaroa in your flex currently. So you're asking, should we play Pollard or BTJ over Tetaroa? If you're playing in a full PPR, I keep it as is. Let me see where I have in a half PPR between Pollard and Tetaroa. If you're playing in a half PPR, genuinely, I would just probably roll in the direction of Pollard. So if it's a half PPR, I'll take Pollard. Standard, I'll take Pollard. If it's a full PPR, I'll just take Tetaroa in that case. Thank you very much, James. Appreciate that, my man. Scott Green sends in a question. Says full PPR, Seattle or Saints defense. Excuse me. As of right now, again, quick reminder for those of you guys who are joining us on this wonderful Sunday, Championship Sunday. Welcome. You guys are, again, the few who have been able to get this far. And congratulations for doing so because it has been a marathon of a season of unpredictable measures like it has been demonstrated not only in Saturday, but of course Thursday's game of this week. Do not forget, for those of you guys who have been around this channel, the updated rankings are right here. So in regards to like Scott Green's question in this case, Scott, greatly appreciate the super chat. Trust me, it goes to supporting the channel greatly. But you can find the answer on screen. Good to go, brother. It's going to pop up here in about 10 seconds. I would take Seattle's defense. I greatly appreciate it, brother. I think they're both fantastic options over the course of this week. So really, I could justify playing either of the two. But between them, I have Seattle as my number 3 and the Saints as my number 5. So again, if you feel more comfortable playing one over the other, certainly can go in that direction. But I do prefer Seattle there. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All right. It's Gabby. Sends in a question. Says, PPR made it to the championship with a 67% win percentage. Win projection. Excuse me. Says, I have Tetaroa in my flex and Jalen Warren on my bench. Go with Tetaroa or Jalen for guarantee points. I'd have to play Jalen Warren. Again, the fact that the Cleveland Browns defense has allowed over 110 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in each of the last 3 games. They gave up 180 to the Tennessee Titans. They gave up like 110 the week after. Then this most recent week, they gave up like 150 or 60 to Buffalo. Jalen Warren coming off of a 14-carry, 140-yard game with 2 tutties, big runs, with no DK out there, with no, Calvin Austin. This is going to be a run-heavy effect, and I think Jalen Warren is the appropriate play there. Gabby, thank you. We buy homes near you. Sends in a question. Thank you very much. There's questions in the chat. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Says non-PPR, start 2 wide receivers and a running back. Cool. BTJ, Diggs, and T. Higgins. I think in a non-PPR scoring format, I feel most comfortable playing T. Higgins there. If you were in a full PPR, I would objectively play Diggs in this circumstance, but I think T. Higgins is the appropriate play in a non-PPR. Then when we look towards running back, Kyren, Carter, or Henderson, easily going to play Kyren there. Again, Kyren Williams, I mentioned this statistic earlier this week on Tuesday. When we talk about what his potential is, he has had a minimum of 70 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown in 6 of the last 8 games. So we're pretty much a guaranteed, like not guaranteed, but when we do the math on 6 of 8, we have a 75% chance where he's going to get a base floor of 13 fantasy points without even getting any sort of receiving utilization. And he's additionally on top of that, not any additional rushing upside, whether it is yardage or touchdowns. So I think the floor of production there, far too stable for me to pivot off of, especially in an incredibly advantageous matchup taking on Atlanta. Again, Atlanta's defense, the 11th best at the position, 15.5 fantasy points per game on the ground, over 4.5 yards per carry. Pretty easy play in that circumstance. And then when you look towards another wide receiver play, between BTJ and Diggs, I'm going to go in the direction of playing Diggs there. So it'll be Diggs, T. Higgins, and then playing Kyren Williams. Says I'm up 72%. Up 72%. Opponent still has Bijan, Swift, Caleb, DJ Moore, and Jacoby Myers to play. Yeah, I think you're in a really stable position. Like with the lead at which you have to be a 72% potential expected winner, I mean, just from my experience this week alone, looking at one of my own matchups where I'm a 68% favorite, you're probably in a really stable position to where if I had to guess, you're probably projected to win by like 20, 25 points. That's why it's in the 70% range. I guess it just depends on what's it called? What website you play on. Maybe it isn't 20, 25 because you're playing in a non-PPR. So maybe it's like 15 or 16. At that point, yeah, I think you're in a really stable spot to win. Congratulations, brother. All right, Blue Jay, what's up, brother? How's it going? Blue Jay sends in a question, says, Rams playing for anything tomorrow night? Any scenario you think they run Corum more than Kyren? I think there's always a potential. Again, anything could happen. Are they playing for anything tomorrow night? Technically, yes. Because if the Carolina Panthers win and the Bears win, then again the NFC West is open. So there's still 2 weeks remaining. And as it currently stands regarding the NFL standings within that division, there's still, I mean, again, they've broken even 1-1 with both Seattle and San Francisco. So it's just purely going to be a matter of who's got the record when it's all said and done. As of right now, of course, 12-3, 11-4, 11-4. So if you get a loss there from Seattle and a loss there from San Francisco, Rams win on Monday night, they're back in the top spot. You know what I mean? So certainly still going to push to the end. Come week 18, though, if Seattle and San Francisco win this week, in week 18, hopefully you guys don't play in week 18, expect the Rams to sit all their starters. As for your final question there, Blue Jay says, Jaguars or Buccaneers defense? My opponent has the Giants. I benched the Texans. How many points did the Texans defense have this week, by the way? I'm actually quite curious because I had them obviously relatively highly ranked. I'm curious as to what they ended up producing. Houston's defense this week put up 8. Okay, decent. Nothing to write home about, but still, I think it's solid. Between the Jaguars and Buccaneers, I would play Jaguars defense there, Blue Jay. Thank you, sir. 501 Sabu sends in a question. Sabu, thank you very much, sir. Says, my question's in the chat. First one was a mess up. Okay, no problem. All right, so I'm looking at the second question here, and it reads as such. Says, in a half PPR, Purdy, JT/K-Dub, which I'm assuming is Kenneth Walker. Then we have Amon-Ra Olave. Tight end had Kittle. Now I have Fannin Jr. Beautiful. Flex, Michael Carter. Okay. Should I keep it as is? My bench and available players are Spears, Tong, Zabuka, Addison, and Watson already unavailable. Yeah, I think I don't make any swaps here. This is the correct roster to run with. And I do believe that, yes, playing Fannin is the correct play considering Kittle's status. So I would keep it as is. You're good to go there, brother. Thank you very much. All right, Vikings 2025 champs. Yes, 2025 champs. Yes, the Vikings. They're definitely going to do it. Start 2. From these 4, half PPR, Diggs, Gainwell, Michael Carter, or Luther Burden. Yeah, if I'm starting only one. Oh, no, sorry. I'm starting 2. Yeah, it's easy. I'm going Gainwell and Diggs. It's not even close. Diggs has less target competition with no Kayshon Boutte and Matt Collins out there in an incredible matchup against the Jets. And then you have Gainwell, who's been an absolute phenom for fantasy purposes. Again, over the course of the last 6 games, he is number 8 in terms of fantasy points per game, and he's a top 12 running back. So clear and away playing Diggs and Gainwell. Thank you very much, Vikings. All right. I believe Lexus was the next question. Yes, it was. Okay, Lexus, what's up? Says in a full PPR, London or Tracy? I would prefer to play Drake London in that circumstance. I understand that there's inherent risk involved, but the number 1 wide receiver against the Los Angeles Rams over the course of the last 5-6 weeks here have been absolutely nuclear, to the point to where I would feel really comfortable leaning in the direction of London there, assuming he's going to play tomorrow night. Again, the assumption is not only besides the fact that he hasn't been designated out, it is additionally on top of the fact that they're not playing for anything. If they needed to potentially shut him down because he was injured, they would have already and shut him down for the season-ending IR. But I expect him to play because he is active and practicing. Also, I need one to choose between Burden, Godwin, Hill, or Warren. So when you mention Warren, my only question becomes which Warren? Are we talking about Jalen or Tyler? In the event in which it says Jalen Warren, I would play him. Jalen Warren would be the auto start of the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the event in which this is Tyler Warren, tight end of the Indianapolis Colts, at that point I would play Burden. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the help all season long. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Again, try my best to help you guys out. Again, you guys know how the deal goes here. I'm going to make suggestions. Some are going to go great. Some are going to go to the absolute can. There's the unpredictability of all the variables that are in fantasy football. I try my best to, of course, collect information and try to help you guys out. I'm glad that, of course, you guys were able to make it to Week 17 championship. Love to see it. But again, job's not finished. Let's bring it home. Harry sends in a question. Says, full PPR. I need 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and 1 flex. Sounds good, Harry. Says, I have Gainwell, Warren, Henderson, Tracy, Jacoby, Tedderroll, and McMillan. Let's get this bag, Andrew. So, of the availables here, in a full PPR setting, I have Gainwell and Jalen Warren as my highest ranked players of your mentioned options. So I would play Warren at RB1 and I would play Gainwell in the flex, genuinely. And then on top of that, between Jacoby Myers and Tedderroll and McMillan, in a full PPR, I have Jacoby Myers as my number 11 and Tedderroll as number 12. So my suggestion will be going Gainwell, Warren, and Jacoby Myers. Thank you very much, Harry. All right, Jose sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, RB2 and flex, K9, Tracy, BTJ. Between these availables in a, let's see, full PPR, where do I have Tracy comparatively to BTJ? I do have, okay, so Kenneth Walker, BTJ, Tyrone Tracy are number 35, 37, and 38 within my full PPR rankings. They are legitimately all within the same range. Could justify one over the other. The order at which I have it ranked is I have Kenneth Walker 1, BTJ 2, Tracy 3. So I would suggest playing Kenneth Walker and BTJ this week. Thank you very much, Jose. All right, Teflon, Don sends in a question. Says Jalen Warren or Stevenson. Not even close. I'm playing Jalen Warren. Again, the reason why it has changed so drastically in comparison to Tuesday's ranking is because Travion Henderson is in fact going to play. He did clear the concussion protocol. And Stevenson is a lesser play because of that. So Jalen Warren, absolutely the start. Thank you. Mar for life sends out a question. It says full PPR, 6 point per touchdown. Pick quarterback, tight end, flex between Purdy, Stafford. Okay, between Purdy and Stafford, I believe I have Purdy 1 spot ahead of Stafford. Yes, I do. I have them both as tier 3 quarterbacks, but I would still go Purdy in this circumstance because of rushing. Oh, you are in a 6 point per passing touchdown league. Okay. Considering the 6 point per passing touchdown league, I'll take Stafford there. In regards to, because my rankings on screen are for a 4 point per passing touchdown league, which again, rushing yards and upside is certainly like the primary contributor there. So in a 6 point per passing touchdown format, I'll take Stafford. Then we move on to tight end between Waller, Tongs, and Parkinson. Assuming Kittle is out, you play Tongs tonight. If he's not, you pivot to Parkinson on Monday. And then you have flex option. It says London if out Parkinson. Ooh, brother. Okay, hold up. So Stafford, Tongs, which is probably going to be the option. And in the event in which London is out, which he won't be, then sure, you can pivot to Parkinson. But that does also, like, let's say, for example, Kittle plays and then London's out, you then just completely just drowned. But at that point, I would just pivot to some other alternative option on the Rams and hope for a touchdown. So in this case, yes, I'm playing Stafford. I'm playing Tongs. I'm playing London in the flex, and I'll pivot to Parkinson if needed. But I don't think you'll need it. Thank you. J Mike sends it a question. Jay, thank you very much. It says full PPR. I need 2 wide receivers in the flex. We have London, we have DJ Moore, we have Michael Carter, Jacoby Myers, BTJ, and Bucky Irving. Wide receiver number 1 is Drake London. Wide receiver number 2 is Jacoby Myers. And in the flex position, I am playing Bucky Irving. So London, Jacoby, and Bucky. Thank you, J Mike. Appreciate it, brother. Jonathan 35 says, been starting Hurts all year. Do I bench for Trevor Lawrence? I would. Because of the weather and because of what Trevor Lawrence has been able to do of late and the expectation that he should be able to absolutely handle this Indianapolis Colts defense, who he took on just a couple weeks ago and had himself just a solid game. Again, nothing cute, just going ahead and just putting up victories. This team is averaging 30 points per game. I'm all in on Trevor Lawrence this week. This is Alexander Cologne says, championship game, Devontae Smith or Emeka Egbuka. I would play Devontae Smith, but here's the issue. Again, the weather is something of a concern, but I think further beyond that, Emeka Egbuka's target opportunity share is the even greater concern. Again, from what we saw to begin the year, from weeks 1 through 5, this man was literally in the top 3 conversation at the wide receiver position. I was quoted to have said, I think Emeka Egbuka is legitimately already a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And then he goes on an absolute tear of scoring less than 10 fantasy points in like 9 of the last 10 games. Cannot trust Emeka. I love the target opportunity, just not enough quality of opportunity. I'm going Devontae Smith there. Thank you. All right. Gabriella sends out a question. Thank you very much. Says in a full PPR, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and 1 tight end. Beautiful. What do we have here? So we have ETN, Corum, Dowdle, Tracy, Walker. So at RB, we got to play ETN, especially with Bayshall 2 now. It even further potentially upgrades ETN. Then we look towards wide receiver, to which you have Nakua, London, Michael Wilson, Wanda Robinson, and Burden, to which we're playing Nakua and London easily. That's my ETN, Nakua, London. Then when we look towards the flex position, I look at your availables here. Let me see where I have Wanda Robinson ranked against the field in a full PPR, because he is a little bit of a demon in that capacity. Yeah, of your available alternatives, I genuinely am going to play Wanda Robinson as your flex. And then when we look towards tight end, you have Kittle, Hill, Tongs, Strange, and Barnes. Or I'm assuming you meant Barner. In this case, I would play the Kittle-Tongs combo. So again, ETN, Nakua, London, Wanda Robinson in my flex. Kittle, if he plays, otherwise pivot to Tongs on Sunday Night Football. Thank you very much, Gabriella. T-Lex sends out a follow-up. Says, tight end, full PPR. Warren, Tongs, Juwan Johnson. I play Juwan Johnson there. Again, considering the quote-unquote unlikely nature of Kittle to be available, I think Juwan Johnson is a fantastic play there. Says, I've rolled with Warren all year, picked up Tongs this morning, and Johnson is also available. I would pick up Johnson and play him. Again, considering the lack of target competition within the offense and the lack of a running game from both Evan Hull and Audric Estime, taking on the Tennessee Titans, who are a pretty stout run-stop defense, I would like to assume, considering Tyler Shuck is coming off of a game of 49 passing attempts in a game where they led the entire way against the Jets, it's safe to assume that there should be a pretty good contingency of opportunity in the direction of Juwan Johnson, who in a full PPR should be able to be the more valuable option of the field. In the event in which one of these alternatives score touchdowns, sure, maybe they are the more valuable, but it is very difficult to predict that. Just purely off of base floor of targets, receptions, yards, Johnson's the answer. OKC BK sends it a question. Says in a half PPR, pick 2 between Gainwell, Jacoby Myers, Michael Carter, and Blake Corum. If I was in your position, I would play Gainwell and Jacoby Myers. Those are the 2 that I feel most comfortable rolling with. Since I've got Kyron starting, going up against Puka, go Rams. Oh, brother. Okay, so this makes it a little bit trickier, because I do think that there is a conversation to be had to where, because you have Kyron, you could start Blake Corum. Just like how we've talked about, whether it's like a Kenneth Walker or a Charbonnet combo, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs combo, you could theoretically start both Corum and Kyron just to encapsulate all the value of that backfield to get no leakage in case, let's say Kyron, like he did last week, comes away with no, potential omega upside because Blake Corum's out there stealing touchdowns. If in fact that becomes, man, am I going to play him over Jacoby though? Let me see where I have Myers. Okay, look, I could justify it. Would I do it? No. I would tell you to just play Kenneth Gainwell and Myers. I think that's the way which we go about it. Let's especially when you have to compete against the Puka team. I'm all in on that. Yeah, I'll take Myers and Gainwell. Thank you. But again, I will say it's not crazy to go Corum there next to Gainwell, but I don't think I do it. Beware Dream sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says in a 10-team PPR, I need a flex. Trey Hendo, Rico, Fannin. Ooh, where do I have Fannin ranked? Between the availables, Trey Hendo. You said full PPR, right? Yeah. All right. Funny enough, between Travion Henderson and Harold Fannin in a full PPR scoring format, as of my rankings. Now, again, this is under the assumption that we get a full capacity out of Harold Fannin. I understand that he did end up having a little bit of a setback on Friday with a groin. He is expected to quote-unquote be a full go. I do have Harold Fannin ranked higher in a full PPR scoring format. So that's what I would suggest you end up rolling with. If you just wanted to play it safe and just go Hendo, I have no issue with it, considering, again, Fannin's groin injury that he sustained on Friday. But from what I have read and what I've kind of seen over the course of this week, the expectation is that Fannin should be able to outscore him against Pittsburgh, who struggle against tight ends. Second best matchup at the position. Thank you. Kaizen sends in a question. Says, I have Kittle and Fannin. Cool. Says, remaining questions in the chat. Cool. Let's see what you have here. Says, I have Tongs and I can get Parkinson, Taysom Hill, Juwan Johnson, and Loveland. Yeah, brother, if I was in your position, I'm playing Harold Fannin, and I'm finding a lot of success in doing so because, again, besides the fact that they're taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, again, are an incredible matchup, besides that, again, there's no Njoku this week. So this most recent game, the Detroit Lions tight ends against the Steelers had 7 catches for 60 yards. Guys, who are the Detroit Lions tight ends? Anthony Ferksker and Shane Zystra. Okay, so anybody at the tight end position can succeed against them. The week prior, Miami's tight ends had legitimately 11 receptions, over 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Baltimore, of course, Isaiah Likely scoring a touchdown, should have had 2. We talk about Colston Loveland, 4 for 49 in a touchdown recently. Again, this is all from week 12 until now. In my opinion, again, in this case, Harold Fannin's your go-to for sure. Obey the Martian sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, sit one between A.J. Brown, Parkinson, Taysom, and or Waller. Oh, wow. Look, here's the issue that I have with Waller. There's too much Greg Dulcich in that offense, which scares the crap out of me. So if I was in your position, I would play A.J. Brown, Parkinson, and Taysom. I would sit Waller. Shane Tetzlaff sends in a question. Says, question for the in the chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, brother. All right. Shane says, in a half PPR, we have Diggs, Jacoby Myers, Taysom Hill, pick 2. I'd play Diggs and Jacoby Myers. No questions about it. And then your next question says, full PPR, Kyron or Jalen Warren? Ooh, let me see what I have in terms of those two. I have Kyron still ranked ahead. And then it says for major upside. If you're looking for major upside, you play Jalen Warren. I think the safe floor is Kyron because he can come away with one of those games where he gets a bunch of receiving workload. But in this case, if you're looking for major upside, Warren's the answer. Says, started Sutton and Jacobs. Yep, now I understand why we need it. Full PPR, Rico, Pittman, Sampson, and Parker Washington. I need one flex. So assuming these are all different questions for different leagues, yes, I'll take Diggs and Jacoby. I'll take Jalen Warren for the upside. And then in regards to Rico, Pittman, Sampson, and Washington, if those are the only competing factors here, I believe... Let me see where I have Pittman comparatively to Rico Dowdle. Yeah, I genuinely would just end up playing Michael Pittman there and hoping for ultimate upside. Thank you. As for your next question, it says, if PPR, if Kittle is out, my highest upside out of Hunter Henry, Tongs, Taysom Hill, Barner, Waller, it's Hunter Henry. Thank you very much, Shane. Appreciate it. Spencer Goldberg sends out a question. Says, hey, full PPR, Gainwell, Travion Henderson, Michael Wilson. In a full PPR, I have Gainwell ranked the highest of the bunch. Thank you. Dejon Davis says, appreciate what you do. Questions in the chat. Thank you very much, sir. Says, actually, we have a full complement of questions here. Here we go. So it says, torn between Allen and May. I got to play Josh Allen, especially with Drake May losing a couple of his receiving options there. How my league scored May has been play for points. Wait, how my league scored May has been play for points. I don't know what that means. It says fill PPR. Okay, so full PPR, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Listen, if I was in your position, brother, I'm playing Josh Allen. I'm playing Mr. At home, in the rain, always dominates. And then we move on to the next question, to which we're looking for 2 running backs. Of the 4 that you have here, I would suggest you play Bijan and Travion Henderson as your RB1 and 2. Then we look towards wide receiver, to which I would suggest you play Olave. In the flex, I'm playing Jawan Jennings. At tight end, I'm playing Jawan Johnson. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Best of luck today. Thank you very much, Dejan. All right, let's see here. We had Major Cuts, who says, championship game, full PPR, Loveland or Barner. I would prefer to play Colston Loveland there. Again, like I mentioned earlier this week, the San Francisco 49ers have allowed 10-plus fantasy points to an opposing tight end. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like in 5 of the last 7 games. It may, in fact, be more frequent. Let me just confirm this. Let's pull up the stat. They have allowed 10-plus fantasy points in a half PPR scoring format in 5 of the last 7 games to opposing tight ends. So, yeah, I'll go Colston Loveland there. Thank you. OG Sumo Vibe sends in a question. Says in a 12-team full PPR, says 12-team winner takes all, 50-50 projected. Both teams have 6 players left. May or Purdy. As of right now, I'm going to go Drake May there. Next question, Tetaroa or Rico. It depends on scoring format, but I'm probably leaning towards Tetaroa regardless of it. If it's a standard, maybe I'll play Rico, but if it's half or full, I'll take Tetaroa. Says London or Ramondre on bench. Oh, brother, I'd play London over the field. Yeah, I would. Says play either of Tetaroa / Rico. Pickens and Sutton let me down. Yeah, if I was in your position, I'm playing London in that like Tetaroa Rico flex spot. So that's who I would play. Says, bro, you're making me panic with my confidence, with your confidence in London, Atlanta, with nothing to play for. Banged up London over Tetaroa, chasing $1 million bonus. Yeah, listen, I understand. So here's the thing: London himself is playing for his own like contract. You have to remember, like, he hasn't inked a new deal. On top of that, he has 837 yards. He wants to hit an incentive base at that 1,000-point marker. So he's also got his own potential for incentives. If you want to play Tetaroa, avoid the risk. I got no issue with it. Personally, I'd go London there, but I have no issue with the Tetaroa play because we all know that he's going to be pretty solid today against Seattle. Thank you. All right. Dino Smash says, in a half PPR, London or Travion Henderson in the flex. I believe, let me see where I have them ranked comparatively to one another. As of right now, in a half PPR, I have Travion Henderson ranked higher. Thank you. Andrew Gonzalez sends out a question. Says, Chimere DK or Michael Wilson in a full PPR. I get 1 point per 10 return yards and 1 point per 25. Oh, goodness. Okay, so punt return yards versus kick return yards. Interesting statistical breakdown there. I have to go back to the Chimere DK stats that I was looking at earlier, just so we can see what the breakdown looks like between those. Okay, so Chimere DK does majority of his damage within the returning of regular kickoffs, which you don't get really many points for. So with the current breakdown as is, with 1 point per 25 return yards, like of late in terms of return yardage alone, like this most recent week, he would have had like 4, 5, 6 off return yardage. The week prior, he would have had like 3.75. And then that's another week of like 2 points. And then and then he would have had 3 points there and then another 7 points. I think you're probably in a better position to determine the differential between points contributed, because I'd have to do the full like mathematical breakdown. I'm going to probably venture to say that Chimere DK is the more solidified floor player. I would say, again, in a normal full PPR league, I wouldn't even have a question in my mind as to which way I go. I'd probably just tell you to play Michael Wilson. But considering the floor of production that he could theoretically gather, I would just tell you to play Chimere DK there. Thank you. Raul sends in a question, says full PPR flex, Taysom Hill, Travion Henderson, Michael Wilson. Yeah, I mean, I think this is really easy. I'm playing Travion Henderson there against the Jets. Thank you. All right. Elixir sends in a question, says Diggs or Tetaroa McMillan. Got to play Diggs there. Absolutely, without a doubt. Thank you. Ethan Kwan sends in a question. Ethan, thank you very much. PPR, Michael Carter, Marvin Harrison, Luther Burden, pick one, played Jacobs. So we played Jacobs, which was disastrous, to which we need ultimate upside to kind of try to recoup value on the player. Let's see where I have Carter comparatively to the field. As of right now, I have Carter 2 spots ahead of Luther Burden. Both of them ahead of Marvin Harrison. I have at Carter 43, Luther Burden 45. Really a toss-up between the two, but if I had to toss it up, I would play Michael Carter as for this week. Thank you. All right, couple updates as of the most recent minutes here. Tetaroa active. Obviously, that was never really in question based on the reports from earlier. Anything of any importance there? Nope. Looks good to me. Okay, perfect. Appreciate it, Ethan. All right, Prosperous sends in a question. Says, championship on the line, first place, quarterback Trevor Lawrence, running back Woody Marks, Travion Henderson. We have Chase Brown, Parker Washington, BTJ, tight end Loveland Tongs. Who should be my flex between Emeka, Charbonnet, Sampson, Spears, and Burden? Okay, so in the event in which you are playing in... Okay, so here's my suggestion. If you're playing in a full PPR, I'm playing Luther Burden. In the event in which you're playing in a half PPR, I'm playing Zach Charbonnet. That's the separation there, Prosperous. Thank you. T-Mass, 9184, says full PPR, Wan'Dale Robinson or Michael Carter. I'm playing Wan'Dale Robinson there. Thank you. Waylon Mason sends in a question. Says, hi, Andrew. Questions in the chat. Thank you. Appreciate it, my man. All right. Says, actually, let's pull up the full question here. Here we go. So it says, hi, Andrew. I need a flex in a wide receiver 2 play. I have Kittle. I'm starting Juwan Johnson instead. Beautiful. Should I keep my flex open for Tongs or Kittle or Barner? Or should I keep Michael Wilson or Wan'Dale Robinson in? In a full PPR, I would tell you to play Wan'Dale Robinson. I believe that is the appropriate play. I don't want to take any risk with the overall Tongs/Kittle situation. I don't think Barner's an appropriate play in this case. So if I was in your position, I'm looking to play Wan'Dale Robinson in my flex position as of today, and keeping Juwan Johnson as my starting tight end there, Waylon. Thank you. Because of the full PPR setting, of course. That is what provides the value for Wan'Dale to be at that position. Thank you. Jack Barrick sends in a question. Says, in chat. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Says, Loveland or Hill at my tight end? Full PPR. Let me check where I have my full PPR rankings. I have Loveland 1 spot ahead of Taysom Hill. Loveland's my number 9. Taysom Hill's my number 10. So I would play Colston Loveland this week. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jack. Austin Hoover sends in a question. It says, PPR Goddard or Tongs? Is this a no-brainer? I mean, at this point, my only concern is the weather. So right now, I have Tongs/Kittle ahead of Goddard. So my only kind of, I guess, practical determining factor between which way I go is most likely going to be the weather in Buffalo. Again, the expectation today is quote-unquote definite rain. So considering we do have the opportunity of waiting for Buffalo's game before we have to decide on Tongs. Buffalo plays at 1:25 p.m. PST, while, of course, San Francisco is the Sunday night matchup tonight. If, in fact, the weather is not an issue in Buffalo and the game prior to start has no rain implication at all, I would play Goddard there. In the event in which there is a rain complication, play Tongs on Sunday Night Football. Thank you. Omega 91 says, happy championship Sunday. Go. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, brother. Says, Gibbs carried me here and ran out of juice. Yeah, he really did. The entire Lions offense ran out of juice. We got Jared goofed on. Pretty unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's see here. Chris Olave active. Marvin Harrison active. Harold Fannin active. Dylan Sampson active. Cool. All right. Last one. Full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Jaylen Warren, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Chris Godwin. Take care. Thank you very much. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you next season. In regards to the potential of this question, to bring home the chip, at wide receiver, I would feel like A.J. Brown and Jacoby Myers are my 1-2 options. And I'm playing Jaylen Warren in my flex. That's the way in which I would go about this. I'm playing my studs. Those are my 3 that I'm rolling with to bring home the chip. Thank you, Omega. Marvin Lewis says, sorry I missed the beginning of the show. What's the injury updates? I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. Is there any substantial injury updates? The only thing that's like really of note is that Travion Henderson's playing. George Kittle is probably not going to play, so I would say he's not playing. And then on top of it, is there any other substantial injuries that we need to keep in mind? Matt Collins and Kayshon Boutte are out, which elevates Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Hunter Henry. I think that's it in terms of injuries. I mean, obviously, there's certainly some injuries on the defensive side of the football that's already been taken into account via my projections. But in terms of offensively, nothing of crazy note in this circumstance, Marvin. Thank you very much. As for your second question, it says, so with the injuries to Kittle and Ricky, should I play Caleb over Purdy? I mean, I expect Ricky Pearsall to play, so I wouldn't go as far as to playing Caleb over Purdy this week. I still think, again, Purdy is the appropriate play between the two there, Marvin. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Nick Ridley sends in a question. Says, Gainwell or Waddle? I got to play Gainwell. He's been unstoppable of late. Got to go in that direction. Says, close week so far, upside / floor. I think that, okay, so it depends, right? If we're talking about upside, I think Gainwell has it in the bag. I think in terms of floor of production, if I look at the overall contributions that Gainwell has put forth in a full PPR, excluding touchdowns, this most recent week, if you exclude the touchdown points, okay, still comes away with 17. The week prior, no touchdowns, still scored 19. The week prior, scored a touchdown. If you remove it, still scores 10 fantasy points. Then the week prior, 6.5. The week prior with no touchdowns, 18. The week prior with no touchdowns, 20. Would have scored minus 12, 17. Even without touchdown upside, the Gainwell is just so incredibly high of a floor. I'm going in the direction of playing Gainwell there. I'm having allergies. I can feel it already. They're starting to hit. What is this? Anything new? Cool. Good to go. All right. Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate that, brother. Mr. Ross, 25, says Burrow or Purdy. Got to play Joe Burrow there. Thank you very much, sir. Again, I don't think there's a wrong answer between the two. I prefer Burrow. I haven't projected for more points. Expected to be the highest scoring game of the week. That's the direction in which I go in with Purdy losing Kittle. Thank you. Curtis Hill says standard format, Stevenson, Tracy, Wan'Dale Robinson. In a standard scoring format, 0 points per reception, I would suggest playing Tyrone Tracy. That would be my preferred play of the bunch. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Ren sends in a question, or Renio. Says Pittman or Parker Washington. As of this moment, based on the projections I have Michael Pittman Jr. ranked 2 spots ahead of Parker Washington. So I would play Michael Pittman against Jacksonville. Again, Michael Pittman has himself an incredible track record against the Jacksonville Jaguars in his career. For some reason, whenever he's got an opportunity playing against the Jaguars, he's up and he's ready to go. Scoring double-digit fantasy points in every game since 2021 against Jacksonville. Ult sends in a question. Ult, thank you very much. Or Ultimate Progress is actually the question, is the name. Says full PPR format. I need a miracle. Henry did nasty things to me last night. BTJ or Burden for the biggest boom, and Purdy or Brissett for the biggest boom. Ooh, man, that's tough. I think BTJ Purdy is probably the way in which I go about this. I think that is where I find my upside. BTJ Purdy. Yeah, that's the direction in which I would feel most comfortable going. That's where I would go. Again, it's not to say that it's impossible for Burden and Brissett to provide that upside, but I feel like Brissett, if he's going to play well today, he's going to play well and he's going to score 20 fantasy points. I think Purdy could go beyond that. I think you can find that upside, which he's definitely demonstrated over the course of the last couple weeks here. In addition, on top of it, has rushing potential, which certainly on top of it kind of gets him that eclipsed, range to where he could be a 25 to 30 point player, right? So Purdy is that biggest boom upside. And then when we look at BTJ versus Burden, it purely just becomes a matter of, can Burden score a tutty? I think between the two, I think their yardage counts are probably going to be relatively similar, and additionally, so are their reception counts. I think it's just I think between the two, BTJ's got that touchdown upside at a far higher potential rate of potential. Potential rate of potential. Good words, Andrew. Good words. Good English. Bjorn sends in a question. Says Waddle Smith Burden, Kyron, Parker Washington, and okay, cool. So of these available options, this is not Kyron. This is Kyle Williams. I just realized. Says I need 2 wide receivers. Of the available options here, in a half PPR scoring format, I have Waddle number 1 and Burden number 2. That's the direction I go in. Thank you. Jimmy Stacks sends in a question. Says Henderson or Diggs in a flex full PPR? In a full PPR scoring format, I have Stephon Diggs ranked higher. I would play Stephon Diggs this week. Thank you. To care of Marvin's question, we move on to Christian Sanchez, who says, I need max upside. Trevor Lawrence or over Josh Allen? He has James Cook. Personally, I can't do it. I have to play Josh Allen. Personally, that's just the way that in which I have to go about this. If you want to play Trevor Lawrence, again, I have no issue with it at all. I have no issue with it. I think it is a very much so viable option. But personally, I will be going with Josh Allen there. That is my suggestion. Thank you. All right. Memo Garcia sends in a question. It says full PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers in a flex between Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow. We have Mike Evans, Olave, AJ Brown, Jacoby Myers, Travion Henderson, B. Robinson, and Travis Etienne. Okay. Bijan Robinson and Travis Etienne are my starting running backs. Clear and away. I'm playing Joe Burrow at quarterback, but again, like I've mentioned before, Burrow and Lawrence are my top 2 of my top 3. Don't care whichever one you want to play, you can play them. But I'm going Burrow, Etienne, and Bijan as my top 3 there. Quarterback, running back. At wide receiver, you have Evans and Olave. Those are my 2 to start. And then in the flex position in a full PPR, let me see where I have Travion comparison to AJ Brown, Jacoby Myers. Okay, so this is okay. So here's the tricky part of this. Let me go see when these games start. All right, so here's the tricky essence of this. Considering AJ Brown doesn't play until the afternoon window, it does provide a little bit of sketchiness because the weather. So if we're trying to avoid risk, you technically, in this circumstance, just in a full PPR play, if you're trying to avoid risk, you play Jacoby Myers. So you would, oh man, but then do I want to, oh gosh. Okay, hold on, let me think about this, because there is a reality which you could just triple stack Jacksonville and roll with it. Do I triple stack Jacksonville, or is that too many? I don't want to have too many eggs in the basket, but at the same time, okay. So this is my primary suggestion. The way in which I have it currently projected and ranked, I would go Burrow, Bijan, Etienne, Evans, Olave, and AJ Brown. Because AJ Brown has the weather concern, you could just play it safe and just roll Jacoby Myers in the full PPR. If you decide to do that, roll Trevor Lawrence and run triple Jacksonville and go for the absolute moon. Thank you. Otherwise, go with the AJ Brown play. Keep Burrow in there. Keep it moving. Thank you. Mr. Underrated sends in a question. Says full PPR, Buka or Kyle Williams? I have Kyle Williams ranked ahead of him. I'll go Kyle Williams there. Opponent has May if it matters. It doesn't matter. I'm playing Kyle Williams there. I expect a greater overall target and reception opportunity share. So in a PPR, I think Kyle Williams could easily come away with 5-6 catches, 50-60 yards, be a solid 10 to 12 point producer. I think it's very much so within the realm of possibility. And from what he's presented this season, he could also come away with a touchdown and be a huge hidden gem play. All right, Rum Team sends in a question. It says in a sit 1 half PPR, Burden, Sharps, Tedderoll, McMillan, illness worries me. I mean, again, this is the Tedderoll, McMillan. This is the flu game. This is the Michael Jordan, Tedderoll, McMillan flu game. He's going for the nuke. Expect for it. I'm playing Tedderoll. I'm pairing him up with Charbonnet. I'm benching Burden. Thank you. Actually, wait. I think I may have Burden ahead of him. Wait. Hold up. Scratch it. I'm going Burden and I'm playing Tedderoll. I'm benching Charbonnet. Apologies. All right, moving on to the next question. We have Jack, who says Tongs, Strange, or Taysom Hill full PPR. I'm playing Tongs there. If I have Kittle and I can make the pivot, I'm playing Tongs. Otherwise, if somehow Kittle is available on Sunday night, pivot to Parkinson on Monday. Rico's, what's up? Full PPR flex, Burden, Dowdle, Charbonnet. Playing Burden there in a full PPR. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, Edge sends in a question. Says, I have Fannin, Tyler Warren, and I just picked up Taysom Hill. I'm starting 2 of 3 in my flex. Who do you like? Please pick 2. Thank you. I have to play Harold Fannin. Too advantageous of a matchup. Number 1 option of the offense. No David Njoku once again. Then between Tyler Warren and Taysom Hill, I have to play Taysom Hill. I don't have to. I just feel more comfortable in the position in which we play him. Tyler Warren is 100% has to score a touchdown. In the event in which he doesn't, we are fried. And again, considering you're taking on Jacksonville, and it was just a couple weeks ago against Jacksonville that he got shut down for like 2 receptions and 15 yards, it concerns me. In comparison to Taysom, who is going to get himself somewhere between like a 10 to 12 rushing attempt game, which again, whenever you have that opportunity, goal line rushing upside, receiving utilization, Taysom and Fannin are my answer there, Edge. Thank you. Gabriel sends out a question, says half PPR against Travion Henderson. Do I play Stevenson, Dowdle, Zach Charbonnet? Of the available, genuinely, I have Stevenson as my highest ranked, so I would play Stevenson there. Says, I also had Mahomes. Okay to play Shuck, or should I pick up Rodgers? No, I would play Shuck, absolutely. Shuck has not only been the more consistent option for fantasy, but Rodgers has 2 of his starting wide receivers, DK and Calvin Austin, out this week, so Shuck is the automatic there. Simply, Miguel sends out a question, says, I have Kittle, start Tongs or Taysom? Playing Tongs there. Thank you. Dilly Bar sends out a question, says, standard league, Ramondre Stevenson, Blake Corum, Michael Carter, I need 2. I would play Ramondre and I would play Corum, hoping for touchdown upside between the 2. Then your next question says, Wanda Robinson worried about Dart last week and tanking, or Parker Washington? Well, here's the thing. You're playing in a standard scoring league. In a standard scoring format, it's a little different because like right now the rep, like you said, I see your rankings, want insight. Yeah, here's the thing. Like the rankings on screen are for a half PPR. If I'm not getting a half a point per reception with Wanda Robinson, I'm legitimately concerned. To which I think I may just hope to play a Parker Washington because of the touchdown frequency of the offense. So if it's me, I play Ramondre, Corum, and Parker Washington this week. Thank you. Kaiser says, another year, wiser and greater. Okay, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Kaiser, let's see what your question is, brother. Says, in a 10-team full PPR, I'm stuck between Jacoby Brissett, playing McBride, or Caleb Williams. Also pick up Hunter Henry, Taysom Hill, or Brenton Strange. Last question, Rams or Jaguars defense? I'm going to play the Jaguars defense. Now, in regards to picking up the potential of Henry, Taysom, and Strange, my only question is, why do we need to pick up any of those tight ends? Are we blocking your opponent? Because, when you say you're playing McBride, do you mean you're playing against McBride or you're playing McBride on your roster? Because now I'm beginning to think that you're playing against McBride. To which at that point, you're playing Hunter Henry as your tight end. And in between Brissett and Caleb Williams, again, I think they're both fantastic plays. I do prefer Brissett in this case. Says I'm stuck between, okay, yeah. So I would suggest going Brissett, Hunter Henry, and the Jaguars defense there, brother. Thank you, Kaiser. Appreciate it. All right. Tequila sends out a question. Says Diggs, Tedero, McMillan, or Bucky in a PPR. Got to play Stephon Diggs there. That's my number 1 priority option there. Appreciate it. San Fran 21 sends out a question. San Fran, thank you, sir. Says that a full PPR. Been riding with Purdy, Kittle, stack to the chip. I have Trevor Lawrence as my backup, and I have Tongs and Taysom to cover just in case. Who do I play at quarterback and tight end? I would play Trevor Lawrence and Jake Tongs in case Kittle is not available. Also, do I start BTJ so I could run Jaguar stack? But who would you play BTJ ahead of? Right? That would be my only question. Like, are you playing him ahead of a receiver that I'm not aware of? Because in the case of this situation, when we're talking about quarterback and tight end, I would prefer to play Kittle, Tongs, whichever one is active. If Kittle's active, he rolls. If Tongs is active, he rolls. Or if Kittle's inactive, Tongs rolls. I'm playing Trevor Lawrence regardless of quarterback play here. So as of this moment, T-Law, Tongs, BTJ is just up to whatever else you have on roster. He's decent. It just depends. Nick Ridley sends in a follow-up. Says in a full PPR, probably need upside over floor. Waddle or Gainwell. Yeah, so again, like we mentioned earlier, going Gainwell there. Says going up against stack team in a 50-50. My Texans 4 stack let me down a bit last night. Yeah, Gainwell is my suggestion. Thank you. Papa Bless sends in a question. Says, I'm going up against a super team and I need upside in a full PPR. If you had to choose between Dart and Brissett, And okay, yeah, if I had to choose between Dart and Brissett, I think Dart could end up killing my season. I'd rather play Brissett there. The guy's been absolutely a superhero in the last 9 weeks. Says then for my last flex spot, Burden Moore or BTJ, I'm playing BTJ there. It says ignore my first question. Never mind. Okay. It says I'm going against Super Team. If you had to choose between Dart, Shuck, and Brissett, yeah, I'm still playing Brissett there. And then Burden Moore and BTJ. As of right now, between those availables, excuse me, BTJ is my suggestion. So BTJ and Brissett. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Papa. All right, Howard sends in a question. Says, questions below. Thank you. Appreciate it, Howard. PPR can't decide between Parker Washington and Emeka Ibuka. Going up against Olave, and both have decent matchups right now. Yeah, look, as of right now, between Emeka Ibuka and Parker Washington, I think it's tough to say because Emeka has just been so disappointing of late that it makes it just a little bit of a situation where you're like, can I trust him? I mean, that's at least in my case what it kind of revolves around. With so many cooks in that kitchen, same thing with Jacksonville, it's also difficult to predict like who's going to get the opportunity share within the target range. For me, I just feel more comfortable rolling with that Jaguars offense. Like I know they're going to score 30 points as a team, if not more. They could score 5 touchdowns as an offense. And when you're capable of doing something of that capacity in comparison to where Tampa Bay's offense has been of late, I'd rather go for the player that is associated with the offense that has the higher upside that can get me to that range of feeling far more comfortable. Thank you. T. Jesse, or TJ. Yeah, no, it is T. Jesse. What am I saying? Says, choose 5 of the 8 in a full PPR. Half PPR tight end bonus. Okay, so this is you're playing in a tight end premium. And then it says bonus 6 points per rushing and receiving touchdown. Evans a boot. Okay, so let me take these players real quick. I'm going to drop it into my Excel sheet here so I can just like filter them. Okay, so if we need 5 of the available 8. All right, so number 1, Evans is my number 1 option. Fannin is my number 2. Waddle is my number 3. Ramondre is my number 4. Okay, so then we just need one more out of the availables. So my suggestion in this case would be I don't want to play either Ibuka or Godwin because I'm going to have to split them. So I'd either go Goddard or Loveland. So again, I'm going to play Mike Evans, Harold Fannin, Jalen Waddle, and Ramondre Stevenson. That's first. Actually, wait. Let me confirm that with Ramondre over a guy like Godwin. Yes, I'm doing that. So then it becomes a matter of which of the 2 tight ends am I going to play? So I'm not playing Emeka and I'm not playing Godwin. So it's either Goddard or Loveland. In the event in which the weather in Buffalo is not a disaster in the afternoon, you play Goddard. In the event in which it is a disaster, monsoon, heavy downpour, play Loveland on Sunday Night Football. Otherwise, again, your primary 4s are Evans, Fannin, Waddle, and Ramondre. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, T. Jesse. All right. We had Renee. Yeah, or Renio. Either way. I'm assuming it's Renee. Says, full PPR, Pittman or Parker Washington in my flex. In a full PPR, I currently have Parker Washington 2 spots below Michael Pittman Jr. I'll take Pittman there, but if you wanted to play Washington, I don't have an issue with it at all. But personally, I would suggest Pittman. Thank you. Emily Doyle says, hi, Andrew. Been watching the channel for 4 years. This is the 3rd year in a row that I'm in the championship matchup. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you very much, Emily. That is incredible. Again, I'm glad to help in any way in which I can, but a lot of it, I'm sure, is, again, your ability to draft the right team, set your lineups, make trades, of course, navigate your league, and, of course, continue to win on a yearly basis. Love to hear it. Let's hopefully bring home the chip this season, Emily. Congratulations. Abram sends in a question. Oh, hold up. Goodness gracious. There it is. All right. Abraham. You know what it is? I think I've probably said your name wrong a million times, but I think I've got it now. Abraham. Abraham Beanstalk. There it is. Okay. It says K. Williams or Evans PPR. When you say K. Williams, do you mean Kyron or Kyle? Either which way. I'm playing Mike Evans this week. Thank you. Jesse sends in a question, says, Flex 1, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman. As of right now, I have Devontae Smith 3 spots ahead of Michael Pittman in a full PPR. And I have him also 2 spots ahead of Alec Pierce. It's only a situation of like, is the weather going to be sustainable for Devontae Smith? For if it is, oh, you also have Michael Carter. Scratch this all. I'm playing Michael Carter out of the crew. That's the direction I go in, Jesse. Thank you. Eric Wright sends in a question. Says, PPR, are we trusting Taylor? Well, what's your alternative? Says, I have Swift, Jennings, and Evans. Flex and wide receiver, please. So you're asking me if I would suggest to whether we should play Jonathan Taylor over Jennings and Evans? I genuinely would tell you to play Jennings and Evans. Let me confirm that real quick in a full PPR. Let's see where I have Jonathan Taylor at. Technically speaking, I do have Juwan Jennings. And actually, wait, hold up. I have Mike Evans there. Actually, I don't. I have Taylor and Evans as my top 2 options there. Am I trusting Taylor? I mean, what choice do I have? If you would like to, honestly, I mean, that's what my mind went to immediately. Just play Jennings and Evans. If you don't want to trust Taylor, it's fine. Otherwise, I would suggest playing Evans and Taylor. Quarterback Lawrence or Williams, got to play T-Law. Need upside? If you're looking for upside, I think legitimately either of these 3 provide it. Trevor Lawrence is certainly going to provide it. It's purely just a matter of touchdowns. Like if Taylor doesn't find the end zone, we're in trouble. Jennings and Evans are gonna. So if you just want that upside of receiving upside, consider full PPR format. I think Jennings and Evans plus Lawrence is a solid play. Poncho's Palace, Poncho, hope you're doing well. Says, brother, risk it with Hurts or play Shuck or Darnold? Nope, risking with Hurts. Absolutely no questions asked. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. KD55 says PPR tight end plus 2 flex. Hill, Strange, Tongs. Gonna try to play Tongs there. Says Corum, Kyron, BTJ, Rico. Is this Kyron or is this Kyle Williams, guys? I'm starting to get confused a lot now. In the event in which this is Kyron Williams, Kyron and BTJ are my top 2 options there in a PPR. If this is Kyle Williams, then Corum and BTJ are my top 2 options. Says, what's the floor/ceiling play? Floor is Kyron and Corum. Ceiling is Kyron and BTJ. And then without a doubt, playing Tongs is like the floor and Hill is the ceiling. Thank you. All right. We had Ishrant, who says, PPR 3-point favorite, super toss-up flex with Tajay, Josh Downs, Kyle Williams, or Charbonnet. That's an interesting question. Let me see where I have Kyle Williams comparatively. Yeah, as of right now, between the group of players you have here, I think it becomes a little tricky here because in a full PPR scoring format, Josh Downs could very easily come away with 5 catches, 50 yards, and be a 10-point contributor. I personally feel like Kyle Williams could end up being a very similar provided option. If it's my team, I'm playing Charbonnet between the bunch. I think I'd rather bank on the potential of Sharps finding the end zone. I mean, is he gonna do it? Oh man, Sharps, can you clutch it for us, brother? Oh man. Even if Sharps does clutch it, he barely scores 10, man. Decisions. Let me see here real quick. I think I'm going to take the risk. Okay, well, I might suggest the risk. Doesn't mean you have to take it. As of right now, based on Patreon rankings, I have Josh Downs as my highest ranked player. I'm very much so considering just playing Kyle Williams there. I think I want the upside. I think his floor is just really safe. That's why I have him there in a PPR. I think I end up playing Kyle Williams if it's my team. Thank you. Young Money 55 says, hey, man. Do you remember? Yeah, good one. Yes, I do remember you. I remember the name. Young Money, of course. That's a classic. All right, says, I'm in the ship in both of my leagues. Congratulations, brother. So I just wanted to say thanks and see you next year, brother. Yes, thank you very much. Congratulations. Hopefully you can bring home the chip. And of course, Happy New Year to you and yours. And we'll see you next season, brother. Ray Barrera sends in a question. Says full PPR flex. Tetaroa or Juwan Johnson? Give me Tetaroa. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Orange sends in a question. Orange, thank you very much. Says, should I start Hunter Henry or wait for Kittle/Tongs? Also, should I start Kirk or Genty? I'd play Genty and I would play Henry. Yeah, that's the way in which I go about it. In a 2 QB league, I would rather play Ashton Genty over Kirk Cousins. So as of right now, I would play Hunter Henry, not wait for the Kittle-Tongs situation, and I would play Genty. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Orange. Rico says, last question, Stafford or Darnold? Opponent has JSN. Stafford's got to play. Again, Darnold over the course of the season has had far too many instances in which they win games and he doesn't contribute. Just looking at his recent performances, since week 10, he has had 4 of the last 7 games of less than 12 fantasy points because they win games despite what he's able to accomplish because they run the football, they play good defense, they score as a team through all these different availabilities, especially with kicker. Stafford's the automatic. Thank you, Rico. All right, let's see here. Chris B, the RD, says, hey, Andrew, standard non-PPR start 2, Corum, Gainwell, Carter, Charbonnet. Also 1, okay, really quickly, between the non-PPR starters in a running back conversation, Corum and Gainwell are my 1-2 in a standard scoring format. That's what I'm going with. Also, wide receiver BTJ, Burden, Parker, Washington. I'm playing BTJ in a standard non-PPR. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Chris. Leo sends in a question. It says PPR, wide receiver, and flex. Okay, brother, let's see what you have here. Leo says, I need a wide receiver and flex between Waddle, DJ Moore, Ramondre, and Michael Carter. Of these available options, my highest ranked are Waddle and Carter. Thank you very much, Leo. Jeff Math sends in a question. Jeff, thank you. Says start Downs, Shakir, or Kyle Williams. We talked about this earlier. My highest ranked player in a full PPR is technically Josh Downs. I'm going to play Kyle Williams there. I think despite the projection, I think the correct play is, I think it's risky, but I'm willing to stand on business, and I'm going to suggest Kyle Williams in this case. Thank you. Orange team, we already took care of that one. Mechanic sends in a question. 1 point per completion, negative point per incompletion. Do I start Darnold or Jalen Hurts? Let me see what Darnold's incompletions look like. Over the course of the last couple weeks here, if we're getting a point per incompletion or minus point per incompletion and a point per completion, the overall, let me look at the positive and negative contributions from Sam Darnold in like the last, let's say okay, so technically speaking, he would have got 6 points there. Then he would have gotten, you get a minus point per incompletion. So he would have got 2 points there. And then he would have got 20 points and then minus 10. So that's 10 points there. He would have gotten 8 points there. And then he would have gotten 10 points there. So, or 12 points there, actually. 14, 22, 8. 22 and 22 and 8. 14. Okay. So then let me look at Jalen Hurts. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just go ahead and I'm trying to figure out this scoring format. I've never seen this in my life. Yeah, personally, I feel like, and I could be wrong about this, just purely off of that completion business. I'm not going to use the Los Angeles Chargers game against Jalen Hurts. But I would probably venture to say, and you're probably the foremost expert on it as you play in this format, I would probably say that they're almost even players to the point at which if we're taking on Carolina and Jalen Hurts has weather issues, I'm playing Sam Darnold. Based on what I just was able to decipher in the last 2 minutes, I'm playing Darnold there. Thank you, sir. Andrew Myers sends in a question. Says, I need a defense between Jaguars, Saints, Buccaneers, and the Giants. Again, the rankings I have right here that are going to pop in about, let's say, 7 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars as the number 4. Saints is number 5, Buccaneers is 6, and Giants number 7. They are all in a legitimate consecutive order. I'll take Jaguars as my number 1 there. But whichever you play, I think is going to be solid this week. Thank you. Top Gun sends in a question. Says start 2. Emeka, Burden, and Carter. Depends on scoring format. As of right now, my suggestion is Burden and Carter. Thank you. Tim Trout sends in a question. Says full PPR, Rico or DJ Moore would probably like to play it safe. Also, Fannin still tight end 3 with injury. Yes, correct. He's expected to be at a full go. I'm not worried about Fannin. In a full PPR, I'm probably going DJ Moore there. I think the safe floor is probably Rico, where he can get you like 8 or 9 points. But I think DJ Moore, if he catches the ball 5 times for 50 yards, he can do that in his sleep and also have even additionally further upside because of the advantageous position. I'm playing DJ Moore there. Chris B, the RD, sends in a follow-up, says full PPR, 14-team, triple flex league, deep rosters, need to flex between Tongs, DK, Kyle Williams, Tank Bigsby, Jalen Wright, Parkinson, and Michael Mayer. I would tell you to play Tongs. I would tell you to play Michael Wilson, and I would tell you to sorry, not Michael Wilson. You don't have Michael Wilson there. I saw Michael Mayer, and then I saw Williams, and Michael Wilson came out. Tongs, DK, and Kyle Williams are your top 3 plays. Like, genuinely, those are your 3 most valuable plays, in my opinion. That's the way in which I would go about it if it was my team. Thank you. GBG Tony says, check quarter. Yeah, appreciate it, Tony. Tony, I don't know. Let's see what you have here. Okay, so Tony was saying yesterday, okay, so this is this morning. Says, with Kittle more likely out, Tongs, Strange, or Taysom. I would suggest playing Tongs there. Says, also with the weather, should I pivot from Smitty to Kyle Williams, Parker Washington, or Pop Douglas? Depends on how severe the weather is. In the event in which it's severe, or we're assuming it's severe, you could make that swap. I just can't objectively tell you what it's going to look like. So I would hate the idea where we're like, oh, we're really scared about the weather, and then come 1 p.m. today, there's no weather, and Smitty goes for 150 yards, and we're in absolute shambles, right? That's my concern. So if you're concerned about the weather and you're okay with the pivot, my next highest ranked player is Parker Washington, so that would be my suggestion there. GBG. Thank you. All right, Dylan sends in a question. Says, full PPR, I need a wide receiver between Wan'Dale Robinson, Michael Wilson, and Chris Godwin. I play Wan'Dale Robinson there. Says, then I need to flex between the names mentioned above and Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell's the next best play. So Wan'Dale Robinson, Gainwell. Let's get the ring, baby. Let's go. Possum sends in a question. Says, Allen or Burrow? Got to play Allen. Matchup at tight end and injuries makes me skeptical to start Allen. That's fine. If you want to play Burrow, he's my second ranked highest player at the quarterback position. So full send Burrow, full send Allen, doesn't really matter. Honestly, you're going to get 20 plus fantasy points either which way. If the difference between Burrow and Allen determines your fantasy season, then it was never meant to be. I think, again, both of them are going to be huge contributors. I think the rest of your team is what's really going to matter rather than your quarterbacks, because both these guys are fantastic. All right, then we move on to Joel Baker, who says, PPR Jacoby or Hurts, Moore or Pollard. I would play Pollard. If you're worried about Jalen Hurts' weather, you play Jacoby Brissett. You don't even take the risk. If I was in your position, I have Hurts projected for more. I would suggest playing Hurts and Pollard. If you're worried about it, I have no issue with Brissett as they're back-to-back. Top Gun had a follow-up question. Says start 2, Parker Washington, Warren, and Strange. As of right now, I have Parker Washington and Strange as my 2 highest ranked. Thank you. LOLG 5222 says, I don't know how I'm in the finals with this team, but I have Hurts, Bijan, Reed, Abuka, Swift, Etienne, Corum, Taysom, Gesicki, Purdy. Who do I start? Well, at quarterback, we're playing Brock Purdy. That's for sure. At running back, Bijan Robinson alongside of Travis Etienne. Then when we look at the wide receiver position, really, you don't have anybody outside of Reed and Abuka. So those are your 2 starters. And then at the tight end position, we're looking to play Taysom Hill, unless Tongs is available today, to which I would pick him up and play him. And then we're flexing DeAndre Swift. Thank you very much, LOL. Congratulations. Metal Wings says Kyron, Gainwell, Chase, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And then we have A.J. Brown. Pick 3, 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, and 1 flex. So you mean pick 4, actually. Full PPR. In this circumstance, Kyron Williams is my running back. Then Jamar Chase and Jackson Smith and Jigba are my wide receivers. And I'm legitimately going to flex Gainwell. Says I had Henry as my other RB. Tight end, who do I pick? Kittle, Fannin, Tongs. Yeah, Fannin. Easy. No question about it. So basically your roster today should look like Kyron, Derrick Henry, Chase, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Fannin, Gainwell. Congratulations on winning a 2025 Fantasy Football Championship, Metal Wings. It's crazy. Todd Jordan says, would you still play the Patriots defense with injuries? I would. Again, it's primarily because of who's playing quarterback for the Jets that provide as much value as it currently does. Brady Cook is not good at football. Thank you. I mean, good for, he's an NFL player, but in terms of, come on. What are we talking about? Watch him throw for 3 touchdowns today. Alfredo, what's up, Freddie? Says full PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, 1 flex. Moore, Wilson, Bucky, Walker. 1,650 on the line. Brother, don't tell me how much is on the line, because genuinely it doesn't change my answer. It just makes me more nervous. Yeah, in this circumstance, let me check my full... Freddie, I'm pretty sure you have the rankings via... what's it called? Patreon, but I do appreciate the support as per usual. In regards to your availables here, Michael Wilson's my wide receiver 1. Bucky is my RB 1. And between Walker and Moore, I have Walker. So Walker, Wilson, and Bucky are the way in which I go about this, brother. Thank you. Christian Jackson says full PPR, Burden or Charbonnet. I'm going Burden there. Thank you. Perk Nowitzki says in a full standard league, with bonuses, choose 2 wide receivers in a flex. Diggs, Tetaroa, Jacoby, Gainwell, Travion Henderson. In a standard scoring format with the following setup potential here. Diggs and Jacoby Myers are my 2 highest ranked wide receivers. And then within a half PPR scoring format at RB, I have Travion Henderson ranked higher. But I feel like, should I start Trevor Lawrence or Brissett with 40? No, I'm playing Trevor Lawrence there for sure. I'm playing Diggs. I'm playing Jacoby Myers. I'm stacking that. Gainwell and Travion Henderson. In a standard scoring format, it becomes so tricky because the reception workload of Gainwell is what makes Gainwell such a solid floor producer, which makes it such an intriguing play. My only concern is, what if we get to... Oh, man. Let me think about this. I'm going to mull this one over. Yeah, if it's me, my roster... I go Diggs, Jacoby Myers, Trevor Lawrence, and I play Travion Henderson alongside of it. W. Mike sends in a question. Says standard, non-PPR, Tongs or Strange. I'll take Tongs there. Thank you. Ibrahim says, I started Henry. We did it, bro. Thanks for everything. Also, I already took Burrow over 19 fantasy points. Do you have 2 locks for today? If I was looking for locks, they're going to be primarily like touchdown related. So if we can get Travis Etienne anytime touchdown, I think that's a pretty safe potential floor. Again, whether it's on the ground, through the air, as long as it's anytime touchdown, I think that's a really safe position. Even Trevor Lawrence, 2 passing, like more than 1.5 passing touchdowns is a really solid play. Outside of that, I think if there's a potential which you could take, if you could get like McCaffrey, more than 4.5 receptions, I like that a lot. I like Burrow at more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I've got, if you want to go throw Stafford in there while you're at it, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns, brother. Just keep stacking them up. There's a lot of really good plays this week. Is there anything else that pops out to me? I don't know what Trey McBride is looking like in terms of receptions. Let me just look at it right now. McBride's receptions. No, never mind. Don't want it. Those are the plays I would suggest. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Congratulations. All right. Adrian Thomas says, played Jacobs, Tongs, or Goddard. Play Jacobs, Tongs, or Goddard. Opponent has Purdy. If the weather in Buffalo is okay, I play Goddard. Otherwise, play Tongs tonight. You can decide that by this afternoon when Buffalo takes on Philly in the rain in Buffalo. We'll see if, in fact, there's rain. Full PPR, should I start Fannin or Goddard? Got to play Fannin there. I'm a little nervous about the weather in Cleveland. Let me see what the weather looks like in Cleveland. I mean, it says slight chance of thunderstorms. Again, nothing about anything crazy. There could be some delays in that game, but I'm not too worried about it. Jay Will sends in a question. Says BTJ or Diggs, considering the blowout non-PPR? Yeah, I mean, I think both games could be blowouts. As of right now, in a non-PPR, I think Diggs is a little bit sketchier because he hasn't been as more, touchdown relevant, but I'm still going to go in the direction of playing Diggs there. If you want to play BTJ, I don't have an issue with it. Gabriel sends out a question. Says full PPR championship, just filling in the last flex. Michael Carter, DJ Moore, or Waddle. As of right now, between those three, I have Waddle as my highest ranked in a full PPR. Thank you very much, Gabriel. Okay. Says 3-spot full PPR. Tetaroa, Jawan Johnson, Wandale Robinson, Moore, Puka. Obviously, you're playing Puka. I would pair that alongside of Wandale Robinson and Tetaroa McMillan. Thank you. Oh, if this is Jawan, this is not Jawan. It's Jawan Johnson, right? Hold up. Let me see how you spelled it. Jawan. That's the way you spell Jawan Johnson. So as long as that's not Jawan Jennings, I think we're chilling. Puka, Wandale Robinson, and Tetaroa. In the event in which that's Jawan Jennings, in which you meant, then it would go Puka, Jawan Jennings, and Tetaroa. Thank you. Break Even King sends in a question. Says, I have Kittle, start Hill or Tongs, help. I'd play Tongs. Also, Baker or Shuck, so tough. Yeah, I agree that it's tough. Between the two of them, I would prefer to play Tyler Shuck as of this week. Thank you. Then we move on to Seymour Butts. Thank you very much. Full PPR, double flex, start 2. Tracy, Luther Burden, Michael Wilson, Jalen Warren. In your double flex full PPR, I'm playing both running backs in the form of Jalen Warren and Tyrone Tracy. Just curious as to why you have Warren so high up. Yeah, it's primarily because of matchup and game script expectations with the addition of DK Metcalf being suspended for the next 2 games. The Cleveland Browns, over the course of the last 3 games, have been the number 1 matchup at the running back position because of their, what they've allowed on the ground. They have been incapable of stopping running backs. Just to put it into perspective, pulling it up right now. Okay, so Cleveland has allowed in the last 3 weeks 180 and 2 touchdowns to Tennessee, 131 and 2 touchdowns to Chicago, and 147 and 3 touchdowns to Buffalo on the ground from running backs. Not even including receiving upside. There's just far too much potential there in the matchup, especially coming off of the week in which Jalen Warren just had. I'm expecting them to continue to feed him the ball at a high clip. Thank you. Jeff Whitfield sends in a question. Jeff, thank you. Says, I need 2. Marvin Harrison, Spears, or Slayton. Marvin Harrison's on a snap count. I agree. That's why I've moved him down a little bit. Am I going to play him over Spears and Slayton? I am. Am I going to play Slayton or Spears? It says also, do I wait on Kittle or just start Kate Otten and get 3 points? No, brother, play Tongs. Play Jake Tongs. Or Parker Washington on Monday or something like that, or Loveland or something in those later games. In this circumstance, I mean, it depends on a couple factors. Let me see where I have Spears compared to Slayton. In the event in which we are playing in a half PPR format, I would tell you to play Tyjae. Actually, you know what? Half or full PPR, I'm playing Tyjae Spears. Spears and Marvin Harrison. That's my duo there, Jeff. Thank you. Saad Bakari sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. Says full PPR flex. Burden, Mayer, Taysom, Downs, Raheem, Sanders, Parker, Washington. I already have Jacoby as one of my wide receivers. Burden is my suggestion there, Bakari. Thank you. David Diaz has questions in the chat. If you do not mind, sir. I absolutely do not mind. Thank you very much, David Diaz. Says I'm in the finals in both of my leagues. Hugely and thanks to you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Says made a lot of trades early on and approved for Trades early on you approved for me, specifically for Derrick Henry that paid off last night. Up big in that league. Now, do I play Carter in the flex over London? I feel like it would be less risky now just to guarantee a few points. I agree. If you're in a position where you're at a 70% potential win chance, maybe even a higher percentage clip, I think playing Michael Carter is a safe role to which you don't have to worry about anything. And you pretty much go try to cash in on like 8 to 10, 11 points and just carry the week. If I was in your position, I would say that yes, that is a pretty solid plan of action. But I will tell you that, again, I do have London projected for more points. So I would tell you to play London, but in this case, I'm okay with the Carter play because of your circumstance. Congratulations, David. All right. What a name. What a name. Questions in the chat. Can't read it, brother. All right. Says, played against Derrick Henry. Full PPR start 3 between London, Michael Wilson, Tetaroa, Jacoby. Cool. Of your availables, I'm going for high upside Omega Clip. I'm going for London, Tetaroa, Jacoby Myers. Then your next question, full PPR tight end premium. Warren, Taysom, Hunter Henry. In a tight end premium, I'm going Hunter Henry. Super flex, do I bench Dart for any of the above? No, play Dart. That's what we need to beat Henry. Thank you. Craig Newman sends out a question. Says, in a PPR, I need a flex and running back between BTJ, Carter, and Dowdle. Carter and BTJ. Thank you. Siobhan Patel sends out a question. Says, Taysom Hill at 1 or Tongs at 8. No other options. So do you not have Kittle? If you don't have Kittle, then you play Taysom Hill. Genuinely. Because if you don't, let's say Kittle's active somehow on Sunday night. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling great. Let's go ahead. We're fucked. We can't do nothing at that point. So you got to play Taysom if you don't have Kittle on roster. Thank you. Bakari sends in a follow-up, says Samson or Monangai in a PPR. I believe I have Samson. Let me just check. Nope, I do not. I have Monangai one spot ahead of Samson. So I'll take Monangai there. Monangai is my higher ranked player in a full PPR. Thank you. It's 570 Key. Says, thanks for everything, man. Burrow or Trevor Lawrence. My opponent has Myers and ETN. Do I just rock with Burrow? I mean, technically you don't have to. I think just purely off of the fact that you have the ability to negate their points with your Trevor Lawrence play, I'm okay with Trevor there. Again, like I would tell you, and I would tell everyone else, my suggestion would theoretically be Burrow. But in the case of your situation, I don't mind the play in the strategy of playing Lawrence there. As for your next question, Tongs, Burden, Kyle Williams, full PPR, I'm going Burden. Well, technically speaking, wait a minute. Let me just, in a full PPR, let me see where I have Burden comparatively to where Tongs would be. Tongs would be there. So in this case, technically speaking, on Sunday night, if Kittle is out, I'm playing Tongs. Otherwise, we pivot to Burden. Thank you. Memo Garcia says, thanks. I was struggling. Going to the moon. Congratulations. Let's get it. Rhode Island, what's up? Says one wide receiver. Kyle Williams, Parker Washington, Luther Burden, Michael Pittman. I will go with Luther Burden there. Thank you, sir. Says points for return yards. Ooh, I need to check special teams then. Who plays special teams out of these players? I know that Parker Washington returns punts, correct? I want to see if, I don't think Luther Burden gets any special teams role. Let me just confirm that. And even if he did, coming off of the injury, I don't think he will. No, he doesn't get any special teams role. So then it becomes a matter of, does Kyle Williams get special teams role, which I don't believe he does either, because I think that's a Pop Douglas job. Let me confirm that. He gets a couple kick returns over the course of the last 4 weeks, but considering he is now going to be a starter, are they going to have him doing return yardage? Interesting. Let me check Parker Washington in this case. And then we check Parker Washington's field of potential. He gets punt returns. Okay, so of the available, let's say you're playing in a league, my good sir, Rhode Island, in which you get points per return yards of the kickoff return capacity, 1 point per 10 return yards. If that is in fact your league, I'm playing Kyle Williams. If that is in fact not your league and you only get like 1 point per 25 yards, Burden's in my lineup. It says Brissett versus Purdy, point per completion. Oh, brother. You guys play in some weird leagues. Point per completion. Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe going Purdy there. I'm cool with Purdy. It says I have McBride and yeah, I'm gonna go Purdy there. I'm cool with that. JSC12345 says half PPR final flex spot Pollard or Myers. In a half PPR, I would play I would play Tony Pollard in a half PPR. Says hard not to start Pollard in a half PPR with him balling in the last 3 weeks. I agree. So that's why we have to go in that direction, brother. Thank you. We're taking also Baker. Okay, we already took care of this one. We're going Shuck there. Thank you very much. Scrolling back up to find that question, trying to catch up. Again, we are about 36 minutes away from the start of week 17 Sunday slate. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. Bakari sends in a follow-up question. Says game starts at 1, but Kittle may be out. PPR, Tongs, Mayer, Hill, Waller. So my only question ever becomes when you guys ask me about Tongs is if you have Kittle on roster. If you do, you're playing Tongs today. Unless you have one of the options that I've represented here on screen at a higher ranking. So my suggestion is Tongs. In the event in which you do not have Kittle on roster, you're playing Taysom Hill. Thank you. Demond Smith sends in a question. Says full PPR, Tetaroa, Ricky Pearsall, BTJ. I'm playing Tetaroa McMillan this week. Thank you very much, Smith. Congratulations on getting to the chip. Let's bring it home. Cozy sends in a question. Says 1.5 tight end premium, Stranger Burden. One moment. 1.5 tight end premium against Indy. If he comes away with, let's say he comes away with 4 point. I'm playing Luther Burden there still. I'll take Luther there. Thank you. Chris Montoya says full PPR up against Henry. Should I? So I need upside. Okay. Devontae Smith or Tongs / Kittle. I slid Fannin over to start at tight end. Cool. So in the case in which you're starting Fannin, which is the correct decision, in a full PPR at that position, I feel like depends on weather. Because you have the ability to see what the weather looks like in Buffalo prior to Tongs and Kittle playing on Sunday night. If the weather's a disaster in Buffalo, you pivot and you play Tongs / Kittle. Otherwise, you play Devontae Smith in the game in the afternoon. Thank you. Bresh says, pick one full PPR, Ramondre, Brees, Tetaroa. Tetaroa McMillan's my top-ranked player. Thank you. Carlos Laurie, what's up? Says, I need a player in the Superflex with Kittle out, Devontae Smith or Michael Pittman Jr. I'm playing Devontae Smith there. Thank you. Joe sends in a question. Says, half PPR, tight end, and flex. Warren, Jawan Johnson, Taysom Hill, Tyler Warren, BTJ, Michael Carter. In this current format, let me check the half PPR setting. In this current format, I am playing Jawan Johnson at tight end and Brian Thomas Jr. at wide receiver. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Joe. Alex Apking. Alex, long time no see, brother. Hope you're doing well. Says Gainwell or Carter at RB2. Got to play Gainwell. Evans or Jacoby Myers at wide receiver 2. Got to play Evans. Full PPR. Yeah, Evans. Excuse me. Says I made it to the championship in back-to-back years. Thanks for the help. Much love. Thank you very much, Alex. Greatly appreciate it. Congratulations, my good sir. All right. Babaris, 94, says Genty or Henderson. Got to play Genty. That Raiders tank game worries me. I agree, but I would like to assume that at very least they'll hand the football off. Again, here's the reality. I understand that they're looking to try to secure the number 1 overall draft pick, but there's also a lot of players on these teams that are trying to make sure that they continue to keep their jobs. And there's a lot of coaches that are trying to maintain their jobs on these teams. And victories and maybe even sometimes losses in tanks could end up securing that. But in this case, I have to play Genty. I just have to. There's no way I'm playing Henderson over him. Against the Giants, it's too easy. Full PPR, flex, Tyrone Tracy, Tetaroa McMillan, Michael Wilson. Tetaroa McMillan is my highest rank. Thank you. Football, what's up, brother? Says questions in the chat, Andrew. Thanks. Says in a full PPR, I have Kittle, but got Tongs blocked. Options are Strange and Loveland, or pick up Taysom. My opponent has Trevor Lawrence. Flex. Okay, so really quickly. So with the Tongs blocked situation, in your options being Strange, Loveland, and Taysom Hill, in this current circumstance in a full PPR capacity, it does shift Taysom Hill as a lesser option in my mind, to which if I was you, I would pivot to like Kittle versus Loveland. If Loveland's available tonight and Kittle's inactive, then that's who you play. So I would go with the Kittle-Loveland approach in a full PPR capacity. Had it been a half, I would tell you to play Taysom. Flex is Ramondre and Tracy. Do I pivot to T-Mac, Devontae Smith, or Dowdle? Genuinely, I'd feel like in a full PPR, I'd rather go Tetaroa than Ramondre because of Travion Henderson being active. Thank you. Abstract says BTJ or Devontae Smith. I'm going BTJ there this week. Abstract. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Camel says, in a pick 2 need upside, AJ, Tetaroa, Waddle, Henderson, and who is this? Because the only Mick in the... We have McMillan, we have McBride, we have McCaffrey. That's the only mix that I know of. So, I don't know who this MCJ is. Wait, Michael Carter? Is that who we're talking about? MCJ? I'm trying to think of initials. Why am I drawing a blank on that, Camel? Michael Carter. Thank you. I knew it. Okay. So, AJ Brown, Tetaroa, Waddle, Henderson, Michael Carter. I don't want to play Michael Carter. I would probably, if we're trying to be safe, technically speaking, you probably go Hendo and you go Tetaroa. Otherwise, if it's my team and it's a full PPR, I would like to go AJ Brown and Tetaroa. Thank you. If it's a full PPR. If it's a half, then just go Hendo and Tet, and let's just not even take the risk with the weather. Thank you. Joel Baker sends in a follow-up. Says PPR, Jacoby or Hurts. Oh, yeah, we already answered that one earlier. Okay, so yeah, to reiterate, if you didn't end up seeing me answer this question earlier, we're playing Pollard over Moore, and we're going to suggest playing Hurts here. Again, if you don't want to take the risk, play Jacoby. I don't have an issue with it, as I have them back-to-back ranked. Thank you. Sean Davis says Carter or Corum. In a full PPR, I'm playing Carter. In a half PPR, I probably also, but in a standard scoring format, maybe in a standard scoring format, at that point, I'll just blindly play Corum. But in any sort of half full, Carter's my suggestion. Warren or Pitts, got to play Pitts. May or Allen, got to play Allen. Thank you. All right, Wand says Henderson or Swift. I'll take Henderson. Half PPR projected to win by 20. Playing Henderson. Liam Riley. Never mind. Redacted question. All right. We have Danielle who says, Mayfield or Shuck. I'm playing Shuck. I have Bucky, Evans, and Olave. I'm playing Shuck. Thank you. C. Rosa says championship PPR, 1 tight end, Kittle, Barner, Pitts. Got to play Kyle Pitts there. Flex 1, Monangai, Corum, Devontae Smith, Shakir, Pearsall, Kyle Williams. Appreciate your help getting me here. Congratulations. In regards to your flex this week, in a full PPR capacity, I would like to position myself to play Devontae Smith. In the event in which the weather is disastrous, then I would pivot to playing Corum on Monday night. Actually, do I play Monangai there? No, I'm playing Corum on Monday night. It's Devontae Smith with the contingency of a potential pivot if the weather is bad in Buffalo. Thank you. Shaka Shot says PPR Carter or BTJ. I'll take BTJ. Half a quarter point per reception / point per PPC? Point per catch? Point per completion? Point per carry. Point per carry. Carter or Tetaroa. Ooh. My goodness. I'm going to go with Carter there. Point per carry? Comes away with 15 carries compared to like Tetaroa with 5 catches. Yeah, I'm playing Carter there. Thank you. Millie in my pocket says, should I pick up Tongs and play him over Strange and Taysom? If you're playing in a full PPR, yes. I think, well, even in a half PPR, I would, yes. In both scenarios, as long as I have Kittle on roster and my pivot is Tongs, then I make the move. Otherwise, just going to play Taysom. All right, let's see here. Full PPR Stevenson, Dowdle, or Chris Godwin. At this point, I'm playing Stevenson. Thank you. Nami says, half PPR flex, Monangai, Parker, Washington, Dylan Sampson, please and thank you. As of right now, in a half PPR, the way in which I have them ranked is Monangai 1, Parker, Washington 2, Dylan Sampson 3. Thank you. Nico says, I need help deciding my RB wide receiver 2, and tight end. Half PPR, Jonathan Taylor or Travion Henderson. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor. Wide receiver, Kyle Williams or Luther Burden. I'll take Luther Burden. Tight end, Strange or Henry. I'll take Henry. Thank you. So Henry, Taylor, and Burden. Thank you. Ronnie says Taysom, Parker, or Kyle. Pick 2, double flex PPR. In a PPR scoring format, I'm playing Parker, Washington, and Kyle Williams. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Ulysses Ventura says 2 flex spots, PPR, Shaheed Pittman, Judy, Parker, Washington. Parker, Washington, and Michael Pittman are my starters. Already stacking Alec Pierce. Then that's fine. I'm going Pittman and Parker, Washington. Hope for a shootout in Indianapolis against Jacksonville. Craig sends in a question, says half PPR question in the chat. Best of luck, everyone. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Parker Washington is not available. Just Terrence Ferguson. Could play Taysom and leave Tongs and Burden for my flex. Let's do that. Let's play Taysom and let's have the Tongs Burden effect. Go for the flex. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. We had a question that comes in from Jordan, who says, Andrew, my guy, long time no talk. Questions in the chat. Jordan, hope you're doing well, my man. Says, sadly, playing in third place game after Josh Allen ruined my hopes and my dreams last week. In a half PPR start, 1 tight end, 1 flex, Taysom, Strange, Estime, Wanda Robinson, and just do I just YOLO Taysom regardless? I mean, I would say yes. I mean, come on, we're going for third place here. Unless you're getting some sort of like, let's say you get your buy-in back for third place, which I've seen many leagues do that, which I think is pretty cool. I would say in this circumstance, half PPR, I would go Taysom Hill and Wanda Robinson as my tight end and flex. Thank you. Alrighty, then we move on to Michael Cerberus, who says, Travion Henderson or JT full PPR? I'm going JT there. Thank you. Alex Lopez sends in a question. Alex, thank you. Non-PPR, Juwan Johnson or Henry at tight end, Henderson or Gainwell. In a non-PPR, I'm going Henderson, a running back, and I'm playing Juwan. Ooh, no. I will go Hunter. Oh, gosh. I need touchdown upside. Hunter Henry and Travion Henderson. That's the way in which I go about it. We'll play both Patriots. Thank you. Seaball sends in a question. Says, I have Christian McCaffrey and Jacoby Myers playing this week. Start 1 in a full PPR. Purdy or Trevor Lawrence? I prefer Trevor Lawrence. Next, start 1, Parkinson, Barner, Gesicki. I would play Parkinson on Monday night. High over under 52.5 Bengals game. Totally aware of that. Gesicki is still a tough start. I would think if I had to guarantee or really put my money where my mouth is in regards to who is more likely of a touchdown, I think Parkinson, because of the frequency, the tight end usage, the opportunity share, and the fact that Noah Fant is also back for the Bengals, I think it does impact Gesicki there. Fishing sends in a question. I have Kyron Corum, Monangai, Luther Burden, half PPR flex. Well, Kyron has to start. If you could play another player, I play both of these Rams running backs, and I just have all the points gathered. Thank you. All right. Tamello season sends in a question. Gibbs and JMO sent me back. I want to choose ceiling here in half PPR at quarterback, tight end. Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Brissett, Goddard, Taysom Hill. Trevor Lawrence, Taysom Hill. That's where I go. That's my immediate thought if we're trying to chase ceiling. Thank you. AC says, in a full PPR, Stafford or Hurts, got to play Stafford. I have McCaffrey, Genty, Evans, Olave, Strange. Should I flex Jalen Warren or Michael Wilson? I would flex Jalen Warren there. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. All right, continuing on. We had David Ramos. David, what's up, brother? Says, help. Thank you. Questions in the chat. Thank you, David. Says, I'm looking to play safe in a PPR. Stevenson, Burden, Sampson, Tucker, Hill, or pick up Tongs. I have Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. Ian Rappaport just said the whole Bears team is sick. Oh, gosh. Are they really? Interesting. So looking at the overall question here, Henderson's been cleared. Really messed me up. I was going to play Stevenson in both my leagues. Stevenson or Burden in a full PPR. Let me see where I have them ranked. Burden in a full PPR, I have ranked higher than Stevenson. Says I'm looking to play safe. PPR, Stevenson, Burden, Sampson, Tucker, Hill, or pick up Tongs. I honestly, okay, so my thought process is if Kittle is out, I think I play Tongs there. Otherwise, I would like to play Burden. That's how I'm positioning myself. this week. If you don't want to have too many cooks in the singular kitchen of San Francisco, then you just play Burden. Otherwise, I think Tongs is probably the better play in that circumstance if Kittle is out. Thank you, David. All right, moving on to Drew Bob, who says, Wanda Robinson, DJ Moore, half PPR. Half PPR, the rankings are on screen as it currently stands between those two. I have Wanda Robinson ranked higher. Thank you. Moose Mountain says, PPR, 17 flex, 17. Ramondre, Devontae Smith, Samson, Tracy. Did you mention anything else? No. Okay. PPR 17 trillion on the line. I see. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In this case, in a PPR scoring format, I'm playing Tyrone Tracy. Thank you. Chris Russell says, in a Waddle, Jacoby, Jennings, pick 2, I'm going to play Jacoby Myers and Jawan Jennings. Myers or Taysom Hill, I'm playing Taysom. Thank you. Frijola says, Travion Henderson or Jalen Waddle. Depends on format. If we're playing in a half PPR, it's Travion Henderson. If we're playing in a full PPR, it's Henderson, but there's a slight chance that I'm just going to play Henderson both ways. Thank you. Ricky Garcia says, Walker, Tracy, or Carter. I have Tracy ranked higher in a full PPR. Thank you. That's who I'm playing. Excuse me. Oh, what am I saying? No, hold on, wait. Rewind that. Full PPR. Hold up, one moment, please. Okay, rewind that. Full PPR, Kenneth Walker's my play. Tracy's number 2. Walker's my start there, Ricky. Sorry about that. All right. Jake sends in a question. Says, full PPR flex. Fannin, Wilson, Pollard, Waddle. Harold Fannin is my highest ranked player in a full PPR. Harold Fannin's my suggestion there, brother. Thank you. Good job, buddy. Sends in a question. Says, Wilson, London, Tracy. Shadur, Superflex. I'm playing Drake London. Full PPR, bench 1. I'm playing Henry. But he has Goff, Gibbs, and CD. So you're playing against Henry, and he's got all 3 of those absolute disaster plays. So really, at this point, if we are only benching one of these availables, legitimately, I'm benching Shadur Sanders, and I'm playing everyone else. Wilson, London, and Tracy all play. Thank you very much. Alrighty, slowly but surely catching up. We are still 19 minutes away. Never mind, I have a lot to catch up with. Okay, we're going to go quickly. Josh says, full PPR. I need a flex. Tight end, Loveland, Warren. I'm playing Loveland there. Evans or McMillan, playing Evans there. Thank you very much, Josh. Jay Will says, Diggs or Charbonnet non-PPR. In a non-PPR scoring format, I would rather play Diggs. Oh, no, I don't. No. I'm playing. Oh, gosh. Fuck Charbonnet. You touchdown mother sucker. All right, we're playing Charbonnet there. Nope. Yep, I'm playing Charbonnet. It's done. I'm playing Charbonnet. Michael sends in a question. Says, full PPR. I have Achane as my RB1 and Henderson as my RB2. Kenneth Walker or Tedderall McMillan in the flex. In a full PPR, I am playing Tedderall McMillan. Thank you. Moving on to AJ. Says, questions in the chat. Let's get the championship. Says, I'm start Parker, Kyle Williams, Bretton Strange. Of those available options, I'm playing Parker Washington. Should I start Taysom Hill or Tongs or keep Parker and Strange starting? I would play Parker, and then I would look to potentially start Tongs if you have Kittle. If you do not have Kittle, then I am playing Hill over Strange. Thank you. Banana says, full PPR, start 2, need upside. Henry versus Henry last night. Carter, Chris Godwin, Breece Hall, Luther Burden. If we're looking for ultimate upside, I think we probably position to go Luther Burden and Michael Carter in this case. Thank you. Walter Sanchez says, full PPR, Brock Purdy or Trevor Lawrence. Give me Trevor Lawrence there. Thank you. Nick sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Hill or Tongs or Loveland. I'm trying to play Tongs. If Kittle is out, you play him. Otherwise, you play Loveland in the Sunday night game. Thank you. 14 say what? Sends in a question. Says, full PPR. Do I pick Gainwell or Henderson? In a full PPR, I have Gainwell ranked higher. Thank you. Leonard sends in a question. Says, Trevor Lawrence or Stafford? I'm playing Trevor Lawrence. My rival has Nakua. You could play this to negate the points, but I prefer Trevor Lawrence. Thank you. Somehow I made it to the finals. I need a miracle. Pick one running back, says 415, in the flex, and a flex in a full PPR. Michael Carter, Corum, Rico, Charbonnet, Tongs, Hill. In your circumstance here, I genuinely would play Michael Carter alongside of Jake Tongs. Thank you. Then we move on to All Rise. Says Walker or Carter in the standard. I'm playing Kenneth Walker. Thank you. Luis sends in a question. Says PPR. Who do I start in the flex? Stevenson, Corum, or Pierce? In this circumstance, in a PPR, let me see where I have Alec Pierce comparatively. I have Alec Pierce as the highest ranked player in a full PPR. Thank you. Max Masters says full PPR, pick one between Strange, Warren, and Hill. In a full PPR scoring format, I technically have Brett and Strange as my highest ranked player. If you want to go YOLO, you would play Taysom there. But Strange is my suggestion. Thank you. Mike Lova sends in a question. Says, nervous about Fannin, groin, leaning Waller, need upside. Again, from the reports that I've read, they said he's full go. So I'm not too worried about it. But if you would like to pivot, that's got to be on your own volition. I won't suggest it myself. But I do understand and I can empathize with the concern regarding the injury. Slaughterhouse sends in a question. Says, more injured. Burden / Wan'Dale Robinson, Loveland / Tongs. Okay, first and foremost, I'm playing Wan'Dale Robinson. Between Loveland and Tongs, if Kittle's out, I'm playing Tongs. Thank you. To the Max says, in a full PPR, one flex, I had Gibbs and Jacobs, only 7 points. My opponent has Goff, but has Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Kittle. Start Purdy. I have Juwan Jennings or May, Travion, or Myers. Okay, a lot of questions here. Could have made it a little bit simpler, but if you have the ability to pick up Jake Tongs to cuck your opponent, you should do that. Now, am I starting Purdy or Drake May? I am playing legitimately Drake May. You have Jennings. Totally understand it. And he has Christian McCaffrey. Okay, in this case, if you don't want to play Drake May because of the overall connections of negating points to Christian McCaffrey, getting a double stack of Jennings, I don't have an issue with it. I would tell you to play May, but again, it's just up to you as to whether you want to go about the strategy of just going all in on 49ers. In regards to Travion Henderson versus Jacoby Myers in a full PPR, I have Travion Henderson 2 spots ahead of Jacoby Myers in a full PPR. You can flip a coin on it, but I would tell you to play Travion. Bakari says, I don't own Kittle, Tongs, Hill, or Mayer. I would tell you to play Hill. Thank you. Dose sends in a question. Says, why trust Hill over Loveland? It depends on scoring format purely. Additionally, the issue with Loveland is his target opportunity is not as frequent as we would like. And Taysom Hill came off of a week last week in which he had more targets than Loveland. And he don't even play tight end. He's legitimately a running back. So that's primarily why. Just more touches are available to Hill, which means more potential for fantasy points. That kid Nick says, full PPR, I have Christian McCaffrey, pick 3 between ETN, T. Higgins, Diggs, and Jennings. My 3 highest ranked players are ETN, Stephon Diggs, and Jennings. Thank you. I'm assuming is mad. Says Kittle out. So Pollard, is he out? Like, is he already designated out? Or are we just assuming that the report, no, he's still questionable. Okay. But anyway, Pollard or Alec Pierce, full PPR. Playing Pollard there. Thank you. Harry Goldberg says in a full PPR, pick one between Dowdle, Coker, Shakir, Downs, and Parkinson. I'm playing Dowdle there. Thank you. Hoping for touchdown upside. Parm says full PPR, Josh Allen, Brissett. I'm playing Josh Allen. Henderson or Tracy. I'm playing Henderson. Diggs or Evans. Let me see where I have Diggs in comparison to Evans in a full PPR. I, in fact, have Mike Evans ranked higher. Thank you. Then we move on to, oh man, I'm running out of time. After Parm, we have Itachi, who says full PPR, Stevenson, Swift, Michael Carter, Waddle. In a full PPR, let me see where I have Waddle in comparison to Swifty. Yeah, I'll play Waddle. He's my number 1. Swift is number 2. Thank you. Phils says Stevenson, Sampson, or Pitts in the flex. Play Kyle Pitts, brother. Kyle Pitts for sure. Calabash says 32 man, please help Mooney, Besh, or Mumfield. Brother. Jack Besh is not a terrible play, but he's questionable. Dealing with a new injury, unreliable start. He's dealing with a back injury, popped up on Friday. If I was in your position, I think I risk it and I play Besh because I just don't like what Mooney's done of late. And I don't think I can trust him. I'm playing Besh there, and I'm hoping for like 5 catches, 50 yards, hopefully. Auntie Slayer says, I have Taysom and Strange. Should I go get Tongs and play him over them? Yes, I would. If you have Kittle. If you don't, then I think you just have to play Taysom. Gerardo says, questions in the chat, full PPR. Says, what happened to Jacobs? Brother. Matt LaFleur. Genuinely. What's that play calling? Hi, Andrew. Full PPR. I need a flex. I just worried about Tedderell and McMillan getting shut down. I have Rico, Michael Carter, Taysom Hill in the flex. You sure McMillan is the best option? I do believe that he is the best option. Yes. If you were going to pivot off of him, you would play Michael Carter. All right. We move on to Cal. What's up? Who says, Pollard or Brees Hall? Play Pollard. Thank you. Here we go. Says, Juwan Jennings, Tedderell, McMillan, Mike Evans. Mike Evans, number 1. Jennings, 2. Tedderell, 3. Nathan Garrick sends in a question. Says, Henderson or Diggs in my final flex spot PPR? I'll take Diggs there. Thank you very much. Shaka Shot says, clarify earlier question. Carter, Tedderell in a half point per carry, half point per reception. Yeah. Or quarter point, excuse me. Yeah. In that circumstance where I'm getting a quarter point per carry and reception, I'm playing Michael Carter there. Thank you. Chris Montoya sends in a follow-up. Says, in a full PPR following up, do I have Michael Carter as well as an option over Devontae Smith? Let me see what your previous question was. Going up against Henry, Devontae Smith, or Tongs, yeah, I would still be in a full PPR. I would push it to see if Devontae Smith ends up playing. So I'd still push it for Devontae versus Tongs in that circumstance. Thank you. We took care of Nathan Garrick's question with going Diggs there. My YouTube just crashed. That is incredibly unfortunate. How many minutes do we have? 10? Holy shit. Okay. We have Master, who says full PPR flex. Smith, Carter, Strange, Hill. Devontae Smith is shit. You don't have a pivot, which is your issue. If you don't have a pivot in this case, it then leaves you vulnerable. To which at that point, you play Carter. White Boy says Alec Pierce or Hunter Henry. Play Hunter Henry. Efren says, Nico got me 8 points. Star 1, wide receiver, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Evans, Olave, Jonathan Taylor, Pollard, Dylan Sampson, Dowdle, Michael Carter. Okay. Wide receiver. We need one of them. We're playing Olave. 2 running backs, Taylor and Pollard. 1 flex, Evans. So Evans, Olave, Taylor, Pollard. Keep it moving. Thank you. Carlos says, I can stack Brissett, McBride, and Wilson this week. Or would you recommend Trevor Lawrence and Bucky Irving at my flex instead of Wilson? Let me see what the scoring format is, brother. Full PPR. Let me see where I have Bucky in comparison to Wilson. As of right now, I have Bucky Irving ranked higher. So I would suggest playing Lawrence and Bucky there. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. All right, continuing on. We had a question that came in from, here we go. Full PPR, Swift or Gainwell in the flex? I'm playing Gainwell there. Thank you. A Hall sends in a question, says Burden over Michael Carter now that DJ Moore is questionable due to illness. Full PPR, Burden or Michael Carter. I don't think he's gonna miss this game, but I'm okay with going Burden in that case. Personally, I have Michael Carter ranked 2 spots ahead of him, but if the limitation of DJ Moore is enough to where it could elevate him slightly, then yes, Burden is the play. That's fine by me. Kevin Bennett says Parker Washington or Rico Dowdle. If it's a half PPR, I'll take Rico. If it's a full PPR, I believe, no, regardless of scoring format, I'm playing Rico. Thank you. Ganj says, hi, Andrew, questions in the chat. Says full PPR, choose running back, 1 flex, Gainwell, Kenneth Walker, Tracy, Wanda Robinson. In a full PPR, I'll take Gainwell, and I will take Wanda Robinson. Thank you, sir. Gets knowledge, what's up? Says, back, LOL, good morning. Okay, hope, need running back, flex, Tracy, Henderson, Carter, double down. Okay, but of these availables, I'm playing Henderson and Tracy, brother. Let's go. Let's get the chip. Nicholas says, questions in the chat, big dog. Thank you. Appreciate it. Half PPR, star 1 in the flex position, Tongs, Monangai, or Dowdle. I would play Dowdle. Says, I need upside. I accidentally left C-Rod in roster. Oof. Yeah, I have to play Dowdle there and hope that he goes for the touchdown. Thank you. Gets knowledge says, love you, bro. Double down. Need tight end. Fodder. No, that's not what you meant. Who the hell is this? Barner, Mayer, Gill? Brother, you need... We've got to reestablish. We've got to retype this in the live chat so I see it. Dragon Slayer says, Hurts or Dart? I need upside. I'm going Hurts. Dub Snack says 2 in a full PPR. Emeka, Ibuka, Tyler Warren, Loveland, Burden. Loveland and Burden. Gets Knowledge says, bro, you're the best. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Isaac says full PPR. Alec, Brees, Luther. In a full PPR, where do I have Brees Hall? As of right now, I have Luther, Burden ranked higher. Do me a favor, Gets Knowledge, and type in who these players are, brother. I don't know what the heck this is. Who the heck is Food? Then we move on from Alex's question from Luther Burden to go to Kevin Mims, who says Devontae Smith or Ramondre Stevenson. If we can't wait for the weather, if it's a half PPR, I would just tell you to play Ramondre. If you can wait, no, you can't wait for the weather. If it's a full PPR, I would just play Devontae Smith. If it's a half PPR standard, play Ramondre. Carlos Gomez says standard league, Waller, Johnson, I would play Johnson. Swift or Gainwell, I would play Gainwell. Thank you. Moving on to Bradley Tank, who says, more questionable. Do I start Downs or Parker Washington or risk more PPR? I would risk more. I don't think again, Jordan flu game. Here it comes for DJ Moore. If you're worried about it, play Parker Washington. P. Mula says standard. Need a running back. Chase, ETN, Henderson. Play ETN. Thank you. Again, ETN and Chase should start every week for you. Don't know why they're not. Dragon DD07 says May, Burrow, 4 points per touchdown. Play Burrow. Thank you. Okay, Gets Knowledge. Looking for your message in the chat. Moving on. We had WCC Grid Talk, who says Stevenson or Kyle Williams. Depends on format. Let me see. In a full PPR, half PPR. As of right now, I would tell you to play Stevenson. Thank you. Nate's 8838 sends in a question. Says Tongs, Kittle, or Taysom? Tongs, Kittle would be my suggestion. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Damn, you caught up? Yeah, and I lost my voice in the meanwhile. But hey, got to do what you got to do. Evans or London? Play Evans there, brother. Constantino, play Evans. My allergies are killing me. Okay, Bucky or Henderson, chat? I have to play Henderson. I don't know if I can trust Bucky. Why does he keep going back and forth on Hill and Strange? Oh, you know why? It's because it depends on scoring format, brother. If I'm playing, again, the rankings are here. In a half PPR, I have Hill ranked higher. But when we're talking about a full PPR, it's Strange. So that's what you're missing in terms of the context. It's a matter of format. Hill is a half PPR standard. Strange is the full PPR player. Cool? Pollard or BTJ? Got to play Pollard there. Where the heck did Gets Knowledge go? Brother, where's your question? So you said, yeah, Henderson and Tracy. And then I see this Mayor, Gil, I don't know. Gil or Algier? Who the heck is Gil, brother? Okay, anyway, we're cooked. Keeping it moving. We had a question that came in from KY 502. It says London or Henderson? PPR. I did pick up Mooney. I would genuinely try to play London. Gainwell or Henderson? If it's a full PPR, give me Gainwell. If it's a half PPR, give me Hendo. Hey, brother, I'm legally blind. Need a tight end, full PPR. Waller, Hill, Barner, Mayer. Got it. Of these available, play Taysom Hill of the options. Thank you. WCC Grid says Stevenson or Kyle Williams. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we're playing Stevenson there, brother. Well, that's my suggestion. If you want to play Kyle Williams, I don't mind it, but you'd have to make that decision on your own. Appreciate it, brother. Okay, so we took care of Nate. We took care of KY. We took care of WC. We move on to Thomas Dabney. Thomas, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Says Bucky or Diggs. I'm playing Stephon Diggs if it's a full or half PPR. I know you have Diggs ranked higher, but Dolphins defense is upside, right? Yes, technically it should be upside, but Sean Tucker and Rashad White exist. Yari Bond sends in a question, says one wide receiver, one flex. Devontae Smith, Wando, says DJ Moore, Wando Robinson, and Henderson. I would play Wando Robinson and Henderson as my 1-2 there, Yari Bond. Kevin Mims sends in a follow-up question. Says Ramondre or Devontae Smith, full PPR. I would play Devontae Smith, or I would try to push to play him in that case. If you are worried about the weather, you can play Stevenson, but I would try to position myself to play Devontae there, genuinely. Joe says Marvin Harrison or Hunter Henry, PPR. I would play, or Corum. No, I'd play Hunter Henry out of the group. Dragon DD says Carter, Washington, Charbonnet, flex, full PPR. Of those available, Michael Carter is my highest ranked. Dragon, thank you. Appreciate it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and let's see what we have here. Tyler Warren, Tongs, Taysom Hill, full PPR. I'm playing Jake Tongs there. Pitts or Fannin, I'm playing Pitts. Jawan Johnson or Devontae Smith, I'm playing Jawan Johnson. I'm projected 1 point higher projected. Let's go. Congratulations. Let's bring in the chip. Wanda Robinson or Samson, half PPR. Play Wanda Robinson there. Time has come. Hour is late. That's correct. Jawan Johnson or Devontae Smith. Play Jawan Johnson there. Michael Wilson or Jacoby Myers. Play Jacoby Myers. Again, the rankings are right there, guys. They're right there. Okay. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. Again, thank you for another incredible season. For those of you guys who are playing in Week 18, I'll see you next week for a couple live streams over the course of the week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. For those of you guys who this is the end of the 2025 fantasy football season and journey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Much love as always. You guys made this year another incredible, successful year. Cannot wait for next season. Trying to get to that 100K subscriber mark. And of course, trying to bring home some chips again next season. Love you guys. See you guys next August. Have an incredible new year. Again, do not forget that just because the date changes from 25 to 26 doesn't mean that determines whether you can change your life. You can change your life whenever you want to lock it in and go in the right direction. I appreciate y'all. Enjoy the slate of games. Bring home the fucking chip. And if you do bring home the chip, let me know. Reach out in any single way, whether it's in the comment section, whether it's on one of these social medias, etc. I appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your fantasy football Sunday and Monday tomorrow. Happy New Year. And until next time, we're Q in the double helix, and I'll see you guys. Peace.